Okay, so let's set this up. This is a VOD review of the second time that NYXL lost to the Atlanta Reign. So they lost the first time. Actually, I don't know what the score was the first time. Was it 3-1, 3-2? I don't actually know. But the second time around, they lost 3-2. And I was coming into it, and I think a lot of people were... It was 3-1. Okay, my chat's telling me it was 3-1. Thank you for the Twitch Prime sub, Nursebot stream. So this second time was 3-2. And coming into this second time, I'm pretty sure every analyst in the scene thought that NYXL had underperformed against Atlanta the previous time and not prepared for them because Atlanta were looking so poor at the time. They'd just given Valiant their first win of the season and weren't looking very strong. The team, it doesn't have the greatest players on it. They whiff a load of their ultimates a lot of the times. And so I think most analysts were expecting New York to come back into this game having fully prepared and now respecting Atlanta after the loss last time, and kind of clap them. I was expecting either a 3-1 or a 4-0 to New York. And that's what Wolf was expecting, that's what Matt was expecting, that's what basically every person that I spoke to. And I think the fan consensus might even have been that as well. Fans tend to think if Atlanta won the first time, Atlanta will probably win the second time. But I think New York are like such titans of the scene, if you fucking pardon the pun. New York are such a big team that I think most people wrote it off as a fluke. But from what I saw in this game, it was similar shit that... hello? Oh, don't crash on me, mate. Don't crash on me.
For them.
Okay. It was similar shit that happened this time. And I think it might even... it might even speak to an issue that New York are having longer term. And it's weird because New York have only played against Atlanta recently. Like for the last month or something, the only team they've played against is Atlanta and they lost them twice. So it's very difficult to be able to tell. Is Atlanta a boogie team? Is New York actually really underperforming? Was Atlanta stepping up in these games massively? So I think from what I saw that New York made a bunch of really terrible mistakes in this game. Focused around the fact that they peel for Jonak instead of pushing aggressive when people are definitely dead. So, like, you know how a lot of the top teams, or I mean, let's use Shock and Titans as an example. Their win rate after first death is super high. Like, there's never been a meta where first deaths matter less in some sense. I mean, first deaths are still super important, and you still only win an average of something like 20% of your fights if you lose somebody first. But if you play aggressively enough and your team is tight enough together, you can still lose the first player in the engagement and have done enough work because you're all together in a big death ball to be able to still win the fight. Or you can kind of bait your Ryan and be able to get a lot of value out of that. So New York don't really do that. They like to keep everybody alive and they like to try and peel, but I think the way that they're playing it is even worse than it was at the beginning of the season. At the beginning of the season, let's see if I can find a place to start drawing on this. Actually, I need to launch Epic Pen as well. Let's just give me a free cam shot. 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 Fuck. Okay, let's do it without the free cam shot. Come here. All right. So, let's do it from here. Give me a free cam shot. No. No. No, chat. No. So they'd play like with Mano at the front. And then when a load of aggression comes onto Mano, the way that they used to play is that they'd use both bubbles really early. So Nene would use his personal when he's at the front and get a lot of charge out of it and be doing a lot of damage. And then he'd bubble Mano as well. Mano would, and New York generally tended to bubble first. And they'd look like they were going aggressive. And then Mano with his bubble on would go in and then instantly back out. And the idea is that you're trying to sucker in the enemy Reinhardt and make them overextend and then punish the overextension. But they don't tend to do that as much anymore. And I'm not sure why. And I think Nene plays a lot more passively than he used to as well. I know there's this big, not really meme, but like idea of New York playing around Jonak so much. You can't actually play around your Zen that much in GOATs. But I do think that they play around Jonak more than they should do. And that seems like very surface level analysis, but hopefully we'll be able to get into it a bit more, where their front line, instead of trying to push people away when people go on their back line, their front line curls around and tries to kill the people that are on their back line to try and save normally Jonak, and then the enemy team ends up running into them instead. So they're like turning their backs on the enemy team and getting run into. This is my theory, just from watching the game the first time over. But we'll see how it plays out. And that's weird, right? Because Nene was previously a top 3 Zarya. In stage 1, he was putting out incredible work. He was playing in the front line, really aggressive. His bubbles were early, yes, but it was part of their plan to be able to do that. And then they had bubbles earlier for the next fight because they'd used it earlier, and they took these long engagements, which, okay, is a weird way of playing GOATs, but it's an interesting way of playing GOATs, and it's potentially... It was... In stage 1, people thought it might even be the best way of playing against teams like Shock and Titans. Particularly Titans, where they put all of their resources into one player at the front line. Thank you, Cuddles! How you doing, man? Thanks for the Twitch Prime. And Spegda and Ty21499, thank you for the Twitch Primes. Alright, so let's play this out and take a look at what actually happened. Now, I think it might be a bit of a mental boom from Nene. Okay, so Mano's taking quite a passive position, and they're setting up Jonak on a long sight line. They've isolated Dako, and they're going to put pressure on him and take him out. And Pokpo himself is playing really passive as well. So Mano's just... It looks like they're holding with Mano there, and if you go into him, these guys have got like an angle to be able to punish you. So it's passive positioning for sure, but they managed to find Dako. They do a lot of damage to him. Discord orbs on him. They managed to find that kill. So now they're just playing for positioning, forcing them out. This is classic New York. I mean, they're a slow team, but slow and apply a lot of pressure, and it's difficult to be able to do stuff to them. This was their style from last year. This is what people think about when they talk about New York and talk about New York's style. Babybay's done a lot more damage than Nene because Nene is playing incredibly passive. They're giving up a lot of room here as well without really doing too much damage. Now they go aggressive, but hello, what happens there? Okay, so the bubble is used early, but Atlanta are just taking space. They're not going aggressive, they're just taking space. So perhaps this is kind of one of the main reasons as well why Atlanta matches up well against New York, is because they're not really an aggressive team. Like, they're not going to try and punish you too hard, and they don't get suckered into those situations. The bubble goes on. Bubble is reply. Bubble gets broken super fast. So now Mana has to back up a little bit. He gets heals. But then they're going to go aggressive. And Mano times his aggression just before Nene gets his bubble. Presumably Nene was about to go for a bubble there, but isn't able to. He's also taking an off angle, which I think is pretty weird for a Zarya to do. To take kind of these angles instead of... So what value can Nene get out of his personal bubble if he's over here? Pretty much nothing. How can he help Mano? If Mano's here and gets pressured, Nene can't step aggressively to pull eyes away from Mano. They're just going to overwhelm him. So I don't really like this, especially because he's not getting damage on Poco, because he's not like... I mean, that would be a fucking crazy angle to hold. But, you know, like, he's not behind the shield. He's just on an off angle. I don't know. Wait, what happened there? Jonak tranced as well? Okay. Well, I don't know why they tranced. Very, very strange trance, as Wolf is saying there. I was not expecting it. I didn't understand why he would have tranced, so I don't know what that was about. If you think there's an opportunity to turn the fight with your trance, worst case scenario is, well, not worst case scenario, obviously worst case scenario is you just fucking use your trance and you get obliterated anyway, and they were down 2 players because Animo got picked. But say you want to turn the fight, if you felt like you had a good chance of being able to at least force out the grav, so like if you use your trance early on in the fight, you are still going to lose it there as New York, even like you've lost Mano. And trancing early is almost never a good idea, because unless you get a pick instantly, it's you're just setting up Baby Bay for a free grav afterwards, or you know, as free as it can be when you still have to wander around Neko, and Baby Bay's gravs are historically terrible as well. But in general, but if you can try and get value out of the trance to force Baby Bay to use his grav, that's a favorable trade. But Jonak wasn't in a position, oh, the whole of New York weren't in a position to make Atlanta use the grav afterwards. They just beat them in the fucking neutral, just using a rally. So weird decision there. Now how do New York attack? Hockers25, thank you for the tier 1. Okay, so Baby Bay grabs. They go in for an early grab. There's no trance, so it's just free. They shouldn't have used that bomb, but okay. When the other team doesn't have trance, there's absolutely no need to use the bomb. And yeah. But okay, it doesn't. I suppose it doesn't really make that much difference. But the bomb is actually, you can win fight with a bomb. Like bomb rally is super good. But having said that, bomb rally is much better for more aggressive teams. I don't really think Atlanta are the kind of team to be able to capitalize on that. They're not particularly aggressive or coordinated when they go aggressive. Whoa! Thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Thank you, Hawkers25. Alright, so coming in here, New York have got their own grav, but they know there's a trance on the other side as well. So grav bomb combo is what they should be going for. They've got to watch out for poke poke. So, normally when you have grav bomb, a lot of the time the other team has grav. But because Baby Bear uses grav to win the previous fight, they don't have it. So, if both teams have grav, it can be very difficult to get value out of grav bomb. Because the other team counter grabs you, and say you've done like this elaborate play to throw in the bomb and stuff like that, and they're all clumped up here, well, you're all clumped up there, and you're both just fucking looking at each other, and they just block the bomb. And you've used 2 ults, they've only used 1 ult, and neither team has really done anything to each other. But in this situation, they go grav bomb, the other team has trance, so they should be... New York should be looking to move forward, try and catch people in a grav, and watching out for Pokepo, because Pokepo's ult is the only thing that can really clutch here. So Mano needs to be careful. Libero should be playing aggressive to make sure that he's watching out for Ursula, or can try and get in a position where he can block Popo. But they don't notice Ursula. The Shatter comes out. Nene uses grav. They catch them. The bomb isn't used. The bomb is used mega late. Okay. Right. Super weird. Super weird. So, I think a more decisive team than New York here would have, when Ursta's going aggressive here and they go for this Shatter, he doesn't actually, I don't think he bashes Animo, right? I don't think he bashes Animo. I think Animo just drops shield. Yeah. So it's just, I mean, they're going for a bash Shatter, but they don't actually manage to find the bash. Mano just backs off with his shield up, but I think Mano backs behind Animo and Meko or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, they're going for a bash Shatter combo because that's the only way that they can really clutch against the grav bomb. They should instantly grav. Like, as soon as the Shatter comes down, Nene should be graving immediately. But they wait quite a long time. So, Atlanta are already in a position where they're on top of New York. And then they are messed up with their grav bomb timing. So they go for like a grav, and then they've already won the fight, and then Meko throws in his bomb, and then they throw in a sound barrier as well on top of that after the fight's already won. Really weird. Which is strange, because New York are previously a very decisive team with really good teamwork. But it seems like they're not thinking quick enough. I mean, it still works, right? But we're trying to figure out like what the fuck went wrong for New York in this series, so it's still worth criticizing even when things do go well. And I swear, if you were watching Titans or Shock there, I think the grav would have come out instantly. Like, Sinatra and... Sominsu and Sinatra, but actually especially Sinatra, is so good at using his gravs to peel, or to, like, stop threats coming in. You'll see a lot of times where Super is really weak and is backing out from a fight, and people are chasing Super trying to get the kill, and as they clump up to try and chase Super, Sinatra grabs them, and it's like the whole team is backing off, and Sinatra like turns around, grabs them, and instantly it's like, right, well, now we fuck you. They're beautiful when they play that kind of shit. Okay, so Nene again with a very passive positioning. Okay, slightly further forward now. Okay, they're trying to back off and go for a shadow play. Sound barrier is used, countered by the Transcendence. Both grabs are going to get ticked up at some point here, but Mano got bullied. Nene's on the floor as well, yeah. Nene's in the corner and can't actually get through because Popo kind of cut him off and Masa booped him. So they've isolated Mano. Oh, and the charge. I missed the charge as well. Wow, that's really nice from Popo. I thought it was going to be grabs that decided that fight, but Mano got caught out. What's Animo up to in this fight? Where's Animo? I'm not sure what Animo's doing. Animo in this fight would usually be trying to get boops on these people to peel for Mano, or to make sure that Masa can't get in position to boot people around. But Animo wasn't particularly effective in that fight. And Libero, not particularly aggressive either. But, okay. I think that was more Atlanta playing well. So now we've got another weird situation where Transcendence builds way more quickly than Sound Barrier does, right? So if you're in a situation where we were like last fight... Sorry, I think I missed a sub actually, didn't I? Peter Sloth, thank you for the 2 months of Twitch Prime. Thank you. Yeah, so Trance builds much more quickly than Sound Barrier does. So if you're in a situation where it's like... Wait, it wasn't Massa, was it? No, it was Massa. Where the Sound Barrier was traded for the Transcendence. Or now you're kind of fucked because this ult is going to get up way faster than this ult. And you're in a situation where you're like using opposite ultimates, but the team that's about to get their Transcendence next has a massive advantage. So coming into this fight, both teams have Grav, but one team has a defensive support ultimate. So that should be pretty huge here. They could even go aggressive and try and bomb into them at the beginning. But knowing that New York are a fairly slow team, I think Atlanta are perfectly happy just waiting for them. Okay, so a little bit of a boop there, but didn't really achieve anything. Just trying to make space, trying to trigger overtime. Grav comes out. Bomb defensively. And then they've got a Grav. And they just grab them off the point. Fair enough. Makes sense. Alright. Okay. Whoop. Well, Jonax only had one bad trance so far. Okay, wait. I was thinking about the previous fight. Okay, so coming into this one, both teams. Default goats again. Daco takes position up top. Mecho's up there now, doing damage to Mano. Mano's getting juggled around as well. Okay, they've done a fair amount of damage. But where's Nene? Why is Nene there? Nene and Libero are so far away from poor little Mano. Mano's just getting fucking juggled all over the map. And the rest of New York are very passive. Atlanta were really weak there at some point, and I feel like Nene can get so much more value out of playing aggressive. Wait, okay, I've gone too far back. Here. Mano is here. If Nene is also alongside him, which he certainly could be. I mean, Nene is here at the moment, but Nene backs off and goes around this way instead of going aggressively into them. I mean, maybe he thinks they're going to back off this way, so he loops around the back to be able to catch them. Maybe that's what he's doing. Yeah, I guess. Okay. I think it's a little bit of a strange style of Zarya, though. To try and not get as much value as you possibly can out of it and help you Rhine more. With the bubbles. Off angles are great if they're on high ground and you can get behind the Rhine shield and people have to pressure you, but not that good just on the low ground. Okay. Alright, well... Animo dies, and Jonak gets dived by Daco. Where was Animo? So Animo's here. He's got Discord Orb on him. They laser him a little bit, and then Dogman finds the kill. Pretty good. But I think one of the key things to note here as well is how much space Atlanta are given. They don't try and play aggressive. They're giving them a lot of space. They don't punish the fact that these guys have had all the time in the world to be able to get up top and come around here. And they haven't really applied any pressure to them. They've just backed off. New York are waiting for Atlanta to make mistakes, but Atlanta are just taking the space that New York give them. Taking the space and then finding targets that aren't behind the shield. Also, Daco's doing a lot of work. Making sure that he always has the high ground. Making sure that he's always in a position where he can pressure the supports. Bum, 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 bum. Milo14 and Buttered Toast, thank you for the Twitch Prime. Milo14 for the first time. Buttered Toast for 2 months. Thank you. Yeah, that's interesting actually as well. Where was Jonak Sorry, not Jonak. Where was Libero here? Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, Libero just looks forward the entire time. Normally, when your Lucio gets pressured like this, they'll get armor pack. Like, there's a ton of times where Lucios go aggressive, they take a bit of damage, and they get armor packed. It's not unusual for your Lucio to get armor packed, you know? Like, Lucios tend to play pretty aggressive, and then be helped in that kind of way. Whoa, Hawkins25, thank you. How many subs was that? 10? Thank you for the 10 gifted subs. LA Kush Bobby got a gift sub. Sick. How you doing, man? Okay, so yeah, that's weird. Like, I thought Libero maybe missed his armor pack or had already used it or something, but as far as I'm aware, he just doesn't do anything. Can anyone see an armor pack get used? Sometimes I can't track everybody that's on the screen to try and see if they take armor pack. I don't think anyone gets armor pack here. And then Animo gets pressured and Libero doesn't react. Nobody really reacts. Wow. Okay. So New York on the approach here. Don't have the grav because Nene's been playing more passively. They're going to try and isolate Pokpo. Armor packets used. Shatter's out. Grav's also used as well. So Trance keeps people alive and Pokpo went too aggressive. This is the kind of thing where New York can punish. They tried to isolate Pokpo. The Shatter was a little forced out, I suppose. I don't really want to pay too much attention to what Atlanta do well or don't do well. I want to focus more on New York. But that's, you know, the Trance is fine there. And Popo just got caught out. They just nicely find a way of isolating Popo. He was a little further ahead than he should have been compared to the rest of his team. When the rest of his team's holding on the high ground, you know? Like, there's not that much Baby Bay can do. If he wants to stay on the high ground, Baby Bay that is. So he doesn't want to drop down and support Popo unless he can help it. He probably should have done, but... Fucking hell, man! Hawkers 25. Do you want to chill your beans, Sunny Jim? 20 tier 1 gifted subs. Thank you. That's a big pog. Big pog. Thank you so much, man. My god, your sub notification is too much. I'll mute it for a little bit. Wait there. There we go. Okay, a little bit of muting. A little bit of muting. And then I'll put it back on. It'll still pop up on the screen. All of them, all of the names and everything will still pop up on the screen. I know my sub sound, I should probably change it to be a little bit shorter. It is a bit much. I had it when my stream was a lot smaller, you know. Okay, so Nene grabs. They're going to go aggressive. They find and isolate Pokpo. They chase Pokpo, avoid the self-destruct. This is all nice from New York. I actually really like how Mano plays around grabs. So, Nene knows that he's going to grab, so he saves his projected barrier. So, Nene grabs. Mano works his way around. He can't really be booped or anything because the barrier's on him, and he like curls around and then charges back into the rest of his team. And it's, unless you're very aware that Mano's going to do that, it's difficult to stop. You can't really put... One of the reasons that I love Zarya's playing aggressive into their own grav as well is that you're always going to try and have your Rhine play aggressive in the grav, but the people that are inside the grav can just shoot your fucking Rhine constantly and try and melt him before he is able to get any damage out. But you can't really do that if that was a nice play. You can't really do that if your Zarya is also playing aggressive. So like, say you have a grav here and your Zarya is really passive, but your Rhine runs up to it. All of these people are just gonna fucking pew 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 your Rhine, and he's gonna die. But instead, if your Zarya plays aggressive at the front and your Rhine plays aggressive at the back to either go for swings or pins or shatters, then the people inside the grav have to pick one target, and it's much more difficult, and the damage is coming from both directions. And also the bubbles are super useful to be able to isolate people from Transcendence healing or from Brigitte healing or other stuff like that. But I think New York are generally pretty good at being able to get value from their grabs. Okay, so now they won that fight with only right, so to dial back to this fight, they won this fight despite the fact that Dogman used Trance. They won this fight only with their grav, which is great, right? It's like they're super confident. They don't need to sync up Grav Bomb. And now they have the bomb either defensively if Baby Bay was up to his Grav, so that you can use it to stop people being able to follow up on it. Or what New York are going to do is go aggressive in the next fight with their bomb. Which is why I said... I mean, this bomb is perfectly fine from Doko, because if they hadn't charged away, they would have been trying to get value out of this area, and it, like, zones you away. It's a zoning ult. But genuinely. But in the next fight, okay, they try and set up this this bomb. Now, normally, if you're going to try and get value out of bomb and shatter, you'll try and have a rally at the same time, because then your Brigitte can pop rally and run really aggressively at Pokepo and run much faster than Pokepo can, and then try and bash him as the bomb comes in and he will die. Or bash him as the shatter comes in and then he will die. But they don't have rally available. So they're going to try and bomb behind and then shatter in front. But Pokepo manages to back off in time, and Mano's ult doesn't find anything. So now they have to back off. And again, Animo dies. Let's take a look at armor packs here from Libero. Given that... Ah, fuck, it's so difficult to be able to see. Let's take a look at the health bars and see if we can see an armor pack be used. I don't think so. I don't think Mano took armor pack there. So again, Animo is playing on this side. Presumably gets discorded and gets melted down before Libero reacts and throws armor pack. Oh, did it get used on Mano? Did I miss that? Come on. Ah, right. Okay. Yeah. I can't even tell the difference in color on the armor. Yes. Yeah. I think he got it just then, right? Unnecessary, probably. You probably want to save it for the fight that happens afterwards. I mean, it's easy to say in hindsight that it was unnecessary because it was then necessary to give to Animo, but there is no difference in color. I'm pretty sure there is a difference in fucking color. I think. No, it happens way earlier than Animo gets pressured. Yeah, there is a... Yeah, it's like... Yeah, it's a darker shade, right? It's a different shade to normal. I thought I was going crazy there for a moment. Okay. It's easy in hindsight to be able to say he should have saved it for Animo, but I think as a general rule, he probably should have saved it as well. The max value out of armor pack will come in the engagement when Atlanta are pressing aggressive. Like, Atlanta use their sound barrier here. You haven't got value out of these guys. At the moment, like, Mano was here, and he's now backing up, and the whole of Atlanta Rain are gonna come like in from both angles here. So your max value out of armor pack is gonna be to protect Mano or whoever's at the front lines when the fight when Atlanta actually close the gap. So I think using it preemptively on Mano there was fairly useless, and obviously, but perhaps a slight unfair criticism. It's obvious in hindsight it should have been saved for Animo as well. And at this point, it seems like it's a bit of Atlanta game plan to use it on Animo. Okay, so they use Transcendence, but Baby Bay has a free grab afterwards. But that's not really... So this is the kind of situation where I don't mind Jonak using the trance here. Because Animo's already dead, sure, but consider the situation if he doesn't use the Transcendence. They are going to lose this fight. Like, if Jonak doesn't use trance here, Meko, Mano, they're both about to die. So if Jonak doesn't use trance, they lose the fight, and coming into the next fight, Baby Bay has his Grav, and Grav can just win you a fight anyway. Like, Grav, if Atlanta play properly, they can maybe win the next fight just based off that Grav, even though New York has double support ults. It wouldn't be easy, but you might be able to, like, Grav, pair it with a Shatter, be able to find some kills, or Grav, be able to pin somebody, get a kill, and be able to kite the sound barrier. Like, it's a very winnable situation for Atlanta if these ults both stay online. It's not necessarily an advantage for New York. It's just so... You get so much advantage from having the point and having control of the choke points that, like, the enemy team has to attack through. And Grav itself, teams have got so good at just being able to find picks through trance. So, Jonak using Transcendence here keeps Mano alive and means that Atlanta want to go for the grav to clean things up. Now, did Baby Bay have to grav here? Maybe not, but they want to flip the point. It's New York's point at the moment. The longer the fight takes, the worse it is for them. And the trance is out. It's a perfect time to be able to use it. Mecho's demeched, so you are going to get big value out of it. You are going to get an instant team wipe. So, probably didn't need the shatter, though. Why did Popo shatter? Oh, Popo shattered at the same time as Baby Bay used his ult, which is kind of weird. That's a little bit of miscommunication there from Atlanta. I don't think he needed to use the shatter. The grav was the better option, I think. Oh, fuck. I forgot my notification was muted, so I missed Ben the Beastly resubbing for 2 months and Apples as well for 6 months in a row. Thank you. Libro's the cutest owl player. Is he? Maybe. Oh, wow. Okay, so the sound barrier is very early. Animo tries to get behind and isolate Pogpo, but the defensive self-destruct stops that. But that's a weird time to use. I think they should be much closer to them, or yeah, I think you need to be closer or have forced out resources before you just sound barrier into them like this. But okay, Grav comes out. Nene's up to his Grav as well. So they can do another play here where they Grav and try and win the fight just based off the Grav, even though Dogman has trance. So Dako is out of the fight. Nene hits a fucking beastly right click on Dogman. Mecho's been demeched, but they're still going to be able to win this fight. There's just too much pressure coming out from them. So no ults need to be expended here. And in the next fight, what percentage was Mecho up to? Did he nearly have his bomb? I think Mecho nearly has his bomb. So, double Grav situation as well. New York should be playing this one aggressively, I think. They should take advantage of the fact that Atlanta are coming through. But they've given Popo quite a bit of space already. Armor pack gets used onto Popo. Mano goes aggro. Discord Orb is on Animo still. So Discord Orb on Animo seems like the fucking order of the day. Shatter comes out. Shatter from both sides. No, not from both sides. Popo, someone just bashed Mano. Wait, what happened there? Does Mano get bashed out of his shatter? No. No, it was Nene that got bashed. Then the Grav comes out. Dogman's caught in it. Yeah. So they do a pretty decent job here of... so on the entrance, Atlanta are rushed to be able to get in anyway. They try and pressure Mano, but these situations where both teams have Grav, if both teams have Grav and both teams have Trance as well... Generally speaking, from what I've watched, it seems like the team that Gravs second wins. Because you catch people in the Grav. If you're the team that Gravs first, you catch people in the Grav, you try and follow up a little bit, but then you get counter-graved, and these guys get released before you do. So both teams, generally, the way it tends to work out, I think, is that both teams tend to stay alive, but because this team got Graved first, they are released from Grav first and can follow up on the counter Grav. Now, also, Mano hits a shatter in the middle of this, too, which catches Popo and Dogman, so that also is a big deal, obviously, but I think even just generally speaking, the team that grabs second in those scenarios is normally in a good position. Having said that, though, the team that grabs second is under more pressure to actually get their Grav out, because if you Grav like this, you know that a counter Grav is going to come out from Nene, and so it does make it a lot easier for Dako to be able to eat the Grav, because you just try and put a lot of pressure on Nene and hold defense matrix over him, and you might be able to get the kill or eat his Grav. So Dako comes around behind him, but tries to do damage, tries to defense matrix, but Nene ain't gonna fall for that one. Excuse me, Mr. Sideshow, there's a penis in chat that needs deleting. Don't talk about my stream viewers like that, please. Don't talk about my stream viewers like that. The mods are awake. Some of the mods. Some of the mods, some of the time. Alright. So what have we noticed so far? New York are passive and not even applying that much pressure to any individual target. They're trying to put pressure on Pokpo, but because they're not playing aggressively, Pokpo is just able to take space. Dako is taking space as well. Baby Bay is also taking space, although Baby Bay isn't played that aggressive, but they're taking the space that New York give them. And they are also... Techno Feed, thank you for the 2 months in a row. They are also putting Discord Orbs and pressure on Animo a lot of the time, and Libero twice has not used Armor Pack. Well, no, the first time he didn't use Armor Pack at all, and the second time he'd already used Armor Pack, so he didn't have it available. But they certainly seem like they are focusing on putting pressure on Animo. Right. So those are the two big things to take away. Also, New York just not playing that decisively with their ults. Although, actually, the second round was much better from them in terms of their ult usage. They got good value out of their grabs. They tried a Bomb Shatter combo. They were playing more aggressively in terms of their positioning towards the end of the fight. So, pretty decent. All right, so this comp... this comp is what you run if you expect DPS coming out of the enemy team most of the time. It's really good against triple DPS. You've got these two act like the classic Winston Tracer duo, where they can go for dives onto targets. You can also get the hack on the Wrecking Ball, which is normally run in triple DPS comps. You got the Moira there for the fade, because she is far less diveable by the people that are in the triple DPS comps. But which is strange, because I don't think Atlanta have ever run triple DPS, as far as I can remember. Not with Ducko in the lineup, anyway. They ran it a bit at the beginning of the season when they had... What did they used to run? Ursta, Baby... no, they ran Ursta, Enleia, and... Defran at the beginning of the season and ran some triple DPS. But it seems like a strange read to go for this from New York. But maybe they just want to play this. I mean, how does this go against Winston Goats? I think it just straight up loses to Winston Goats. You don't have enough damage. I think your front line just gets plowed. But maybe if Nene can find crucial hacks. Okay, so they scouted... Okay, so no, they are going back. So they scouted... For some reason, we're expecting triple DPS comps, or at least some DPS composition. I mean, that would still be good against, like, Farah Sombra, or... Fuck, I don't know what else Atlanta would run. But that seems like a bit of an odd read to me. But alright. It's not too bad. So both teams now running Winston Goats, but Dogman's on Ana, whereas Jonak is on Zen. So watch out for the Bionades. And the Nanos are going to be super important as well for how they play. Most teams, when they play with an Ana, tend to push their main tank a little more aggressively because you can save them with the Nano boost. And then they're trying to get value out of the Bionades as well. They are struggling to keep Pokepo alive, though. Real struggling. Nice armor pack from Ursta, keeping Pokepo alive. But New York have just got so much more pressure on the point because of Jonak's damage and his Discord Orbs. They can just melt Popo when he comes in. Okay, what goes wrong for them here? They go a little aggressive. Mano jumps away. But he doesn't jump very far away. And Jonak slept the entire time as well. Okay. That's a little strange. If you're New York there, I don't know why you go aggressive against the Ana team. Especially with Jonak asleep. It doesn't seem like a good time to go aggressive if your Zenyatta is asleep. They had no... I mean, it's weird, isn't it? We're talking about like New York being perhaps too passive or whatever, but in this engagement, they just went aggressive at the wrong time. Where's this free cam shot? Where's the fucking free cam shot? Okay, here. They can just play around the backside of this, whatever it's called, all day long. They're in control of the point. Both of these comps have a lot of sustainability. You know that you need to kite the Nano that's going to come in first. Unless somebody else does crazy damage, Nano Boost is going to be the fastest building ult that's on the board for both of these two teams. So you know there's going to be a Nano online if they want to push aggressively into you. And especially with Jonak being asleep, like, Mano, get the fuck back. So I'm not sure what the instigation for the pagoda. Yeah, I suppose it is a pagoda. Yeah, I don't know what the go signal was there for New York, but Mano was too aggressive, I think. Don't copy the name when you copy the pasta, failfish. Alright, so they didn't really use anything there. Atlanta Rain, they just used their Nano Boost, but it was basically an overextension from Mano that ended up being punished. And they don't have the healing to be able to, you know, like, boost Mano up in the same way that Popo can... He can't play that aggressive because he can get shredded by Discord Orb, but he can get healed up much quicker when he gets out. Okay. Dropping down, doing a lot of pressure to Mano. Mano's forced to use Primal. Grav comes in. I think they were trying to catch solo Grav there. Nice defensive and aggressive support ultimate. Hello. Was that a block with... Did Jonak body block the trans? The bomb? What happened here? Was that Libero? Oh, no, I think it's just... It's a... Well, it's a combination of things. I think it's a Transcendence and a bubble from Nene and Libero holding his shield. But they keep Animo alive, trying to do pressure. Nene uses Grav, but they haven't broken the bubble. They're struggling to get value out of that. This is a bit of a weird time to use Grav, I think, when... well, I suppose the bubble was only on 27 health. Didn't really make that much difference. That was nice from Erster, actually. I haven't been watching Erster too much. I've been watching, like, Darko, who does... I think Darko and Erster are the two best players on this team by a fucking country mile, I think. But that's like... Yeah. Okay, so Jonak's nearly up to another trance. They're going aggressive. New York are in control of the point at this point as well. What is that trance? Okay, so Libero's just respawned. Mano's already dead. They've used trance, and in this situation, when Meko's been demeked as well, so Mano is dead, Libero's respawning, and Jonak chooses to trance this. There's only 3 players in this fight. It's Animo, Jonak, and Nene. What are they trying to achieve? Just delay? That's a really bad chance. And I don't really understand why as well. Like, a lot of the time you can tell, like, they were panicked or they thought they could go for something. But 2 of these trances now from Jonak, one in the first round and one in the third round, that one, have been super strange. Like, the fight is already donezo. Like, absolutely done. There's no clutch potential. Wow, 5-man Bionade. That's pretty good. Okay. Bomb available for both teams. Primal could be huge here for Popo as well. The Grav is big. Atlanta are just going to win this one easily. Rally from Erster as well. Rally and Primal? Not needed from Atlanta. But, okay. So, Atlanta invested their rally... So, the Grav would have been enough to win the fight. They got to pick from the Grav. And then they're in control of the point. And you have to really decisively win if you're New York to be able to flip the point. So, Atlanta are going to be able to get up to probably 99%, even if they don't use the Grav. Because the next fight's going to take a while. New York have a big advantage. But if you'd saved your rally and your Primal for the next fight, you could have certainly dragged it out to 99, even if you hadn't, you know, got these stagger kills here at the end. Okay, so Jonak uses trance again, but this I think is fine. There should be a follow-up. Popo should die. I can't even see what the fuck is happening in this room. Alright, what happens in here? They find Jonak, isolate him, Transcendence is used, but that's kind of okay because it's the same, really, as engaging with trance. Grav is used. Pogpo and Baby Bay are caught inside. Oh, nice peel from Massa. I was wondering, why aren't Nene and Mano inside the room doing damage to them? But I think Massa hits them with a god boob. Is Nene slept as well the whole time? No. So they're booping them around. Why doesn't Nene just get the fuck in the room at the beginning, though? Why isn't Nene already in the room? It is weird that Nene's not trying to follow up on these grabs. Like, get the fuck in there, Nene. Get stuck in, son. Get stuck in. And then Nene gets slept at the end. And Jonak's bashed. Jesus. Okay, I think they still win this fight, right? Like, this should still be New York's fight. So they've had to use Primal as well. To be fair, they probably did need to use the Primal. Oh, very nice. Ah, very nice. Very nice from Mano. But okay, Atlanta were able to get it to 99%. New York had to use a bunch of ultimates there as well. So, in this fight... this fight's pretty even, honestly. I think in this fight, Atlanta want to use their nano to try and build up for other ults, or just try and take a dry engagement and see if they can isolate somebody. I mean, this is basically a neutral fight because both teams have the like one defensive support ultimate, and then one team has bomb, the other team has nano and primal available. So there's no team that has a clear advantage. It comes down to how you play this. New York have positioning and control of the point. And they don't have positioning. I mean positioning in the sense that they have control of the point. They can control where the fight happens. But they've given up a load of space again, and now Atlanta have control of literally the area around the point. Nice sleep. Nano's early, but it forces out an incredibly early sound barrier. What is this sound barrier? Bit of panic, I think. Maybe not panic, but a bit early from Animo. Doesn't really do anything. And here's what I was seeing quite a bit in the game as well, in later maps, is that when someone dives aggressively on their backline, they are turning around to peel. Let me see if I can get a good view. Like, Libero is back here, Jonak is back here, and then Nene is also... Now he's turned around, but Nene was also shooting at Popo as well. So that you've got a third of your team, like these guys, are all focused on one player in the back who has Primal anyway and can't really be killed. Rather than trying to get value out of the bomb that went in. So, I think that might not be the best way of playing. Okay, Trance is there. Jonik builds Trance so quickly. Grav is also available from Nene. Baby Bay used Grav then and didn't find anything? Okay, what happened there? Okay, this is weird. I just assumed that Baby Bay hadn't used his Grav because I hadn't seen it on the screen. So, the barrier is used, and Baby Bay uses Grav as the barrier is fading. Who does he catch in the Grav? Is there any way of seeing what happens to it? I've no idea. No idea. Can't see shit. Can't see shit. Did he just grab the baby diva? Nah, come on, man. He can't have just grabbed the baby diva, surely. Nene grabs. He finds Dogman. But they don't kill Dogman? Oh my god, Nene trades for Dogman with a grav? Oof. Things are getting chaotic here. So their backline is pressured, but they use Trance to keep them alive. Mano... I mean, there's a bunch of different fights happening here. Mano is trying to pressure Erster. Dako has used his bomb, so everyone has to scatter from the bomb. Mano, because he's caught out and has gone too aggressive, has to leap kind of even deeper to be able to get away from them. And because Nene was playing so passively, because Nene and Libero were playing so passively with the backline, they were like back over here when Mano was trying to keep everybody out on his own. Because Nene is so passive, he can't grav to help Mano, which the best teams use their gravs to help their team as well. Like, you know when Mano was weak around here and wanted to leap away and the rest of this team just chased him? If Nene had graved these players and then the rest of the team had gone aggressive and tried to find a pick, Nene can probably find a kill in the middle of that grav because there's no defensive support ultimates available. And you'll also save Mano and he'll be able to come back in with the Primal. And instead what happens is, Mano just gets killed because nobody's there to help Mano. Which, okay, the self-destruct makes things a bit more difficult because it forces your positioning, but I think Nene should have been playing more aggressive in the first place rather than playing with the backline. And then Nene now gravs, but it's a solo grav onto Dogman. And Dogman heals himself up with Bionade, Erster bashes him, and Nene finds a right click onto Dogman, I think. Maybe just beamed him. But has given his life for that trade. And there's nobody there to help him as well. Libero isn't with him. They're very split between the front line and the back line. They're stretched out across the point. I think because they're trying to help Jonak too much. But yeah, this is just going to be Atlanta's at this point. Diva Bomb blocked. Thank you for the 3 months of Twitch Prime. Thanks. Sorry, but I don't have time to be in a little fictional world like you do. I'll have you know I make over 6 figures a year and live in a house with 4 bathrooms. And that's not even including my investments. D Thrash, thank you for the Twitch Prime 2 months. Thank you. Keep clicking that button. Keep clicking that button. It makes me smile. You think Gladiators will win in the quarters? Hard to tell. Hard to tell. It's hard to tell because New York, I think, like playing against aggressive teams where they can bait them into making mistakes. But Atlanta are such a passive team that they just take the space that New York give them. But maybe Gladiators can learn from that. But Gladiators in general are more... They play a very different style to Atlanta. And they also play a lot of kooky comps. Gladiators play a lot of weird compositions. So the game itself might look very different to this game. Also, it's hard to tell whether these are one-off games or should be considered the new norm for NYXL because they're playing against the same team. Alright. So. Okay, so triple DPS now comes out because FRD is in. The casters all call him FRD and now it's in my head as well. I like his name to be fried, but I'm not willing to fight. Alright, so triple tank, triple support, goats on the point. They're playing against triple tank, triple DPS. So New York have to be careful with their positioning and pressure people as they get aggressive or as they are in positions where you can go aggressive onto them. So Atlanta have come onto the point. They found a hack on Meko. And they're trying to isolate FRD and Pogpo. Nice whip shot from Libero onto Pogpo. Whip shots him straight off the side. So Mano's taking a lot of shield pressure from the Farah and from the Hanzo. Oh, hello. How does that happen? Nice headshot. And then I guess he just gets finished off. Wait, did he get another headshot there? I'm looking at the health bars rather than what fucking happens. So that's a nice shot. Oh yeah, he gets another nice headshot onto Nene. Fair enough. I don't think New York are playing that badly though. There's so much pressure coming in from the Farah from this direction and the Hanzo from this direction that you just have to keep cycling your abilities. Like you keep having to cycle Defense Matrix, Shield, Zarya Bubbles to be able to eat up all of the spam that is on the point. And I think Baby Bear just hit some nice shots there, honestly. There's not that much you can do as New York to be able to apply pressure to people when they're spamming from so far away. I don't know whether I could really tell them to do anything differently on this fight. It's still difficult for Atlanta to be able to properly push in. Okay. Where's Meko? There's Meko. Where does Meko go? Oh, Meko goes into the point. Ah, nice. So they sync it up so that when Meko goes in, Ursta goes for the barrage. So nice comms from Atlanta. That was really nicely executed by Atlanta. I suppose the question is, could Atlanta at some point, could New York at some point have gone aggressive onto, for example, Baby Bay? Like here, could they have speed boost engaged into Baby Bay? Maybe. I don't really know. So a lot of distance to cover when you're holding on the back platform. Ursta's actually a super fucking good DPS player as well. His Genji, his Farah, his... what the fuck else? His Doomfist, his Brig as well. He's such a good player. I was so high on Lucky Future Zenith and like Ardeon and Mighty AOD. You know, that team was genuinely fucking good. It's a pity that they didn't exist in the era where the Gauntlet was happening, because those guys would have plowed. I mean, think about that roster. Ursta and DM as the DPS duo, Marvel and Michelle, and then, well, they had a bunch of different supports as well. At one point they had Aim God and... fuck, who was their... who was their other support at that time? Who used to play alongside Aim God? Who used to play alongside... no, well, IDK was later, right? And IDK is fantastic, but before IDK came onto the team, they used to play with... they had like a weird sounding... oh, was it Animo? It was, yeah, you're right, it was Animo. It was Animo and Aim God. So, yeah. And like Animo's name used to be Sleep, I think. That's why I was having difficulty remembering it. Because they had like, it was Sleep and Jeff. So it was, which are amazing names. And Jeff is Aim God and Sleep is Animo. Like fantastic players. And then they get IDK in there as well. Like that entire team is nuts. They were genuinely a top 5 team in the world at many points throughout like pre-Owl. And people weren't talking about them because they were playing in like the Pacific region. But go back and look at my Owl rankings. I knew these guys were nuts. Not Owl rankings. What am I talking about? Power rankings. Aim God shouldn't have changed his name. I love the name Jeff. They all call him Jeff on the team as well. Boston, whenever they refer to Aim God, they say Jeff. I think that is like his, I don't know what you call it. What do you call like a westernized name or something? They had Smurf on the bench? Really? Did they? Huh, I didn't know that. Americanized? I guess. Romanized. Is that what they call it? Yeah, that sounds more right. I guess it's not really Americanized because they do it in a bunch of other countries as well. Not just America. Anglicized. Yeah, I suppose. Anyway. Okay, let's actually focus on the game. What the fuck is happening? Okay, so... Right. So they've switched up their comp massively. So Atlanta have only kept 2 players the same. They've kept FRD on Sombra, and they've kept Dogman on Zen. So New York have got... Wait, did Nene use his Grav in the previous fight? Oh no, he went Sombra to be able to get back to the point. Okay, alright. That makes more sense. I thought I'd missed some kind of fucking giga whiff. BQB shouldn't have changed off Bum God. Bum God is the greatest name of all time. Change my mind. Bum God, I think he wasn't allowed that in Contenders. I'm not 100% sure, but if I had to guess the reason why he changed his name from Bum God, it would be because they told him to. Fucking hell. Alright, so New York, because they defended with the same composition, are still perfectly fine on this second point. Atlanta have to make changes, but that's fine. You know, still huge time back to be able to work with. They throw in the translocator here, and this is something that you'll see Sombra's doing quite a lot. Throwing the translocator in to try and bait out a preemptive transcendence, and then just deleting the translocator when it's in the air.
But if he can hit either of the supports, I think this certainly is possible for FRD.
But because it's on such a short cooldown, you see people doing that a lot. Not that it really catches people out that much, but they do like to do it. Okay, so 3 players EMP'd, but they've managed to pop Rally and Transcendence, but they don't go aggressive. Why don't they go aggressive? So Mano, Animo, and Libero are hacked. Libero has no shield, but still stays passive with the trance. Instead of... I mean, Jonak's the furthest forward. Mano kind of hides instead of going aggressive into them. What's the reason for that? Don't know. Mecho's going to drop this. Oh, he tries to edge it off and it fails. Alright, so I've gone back a little bit here. Mecho's up top. That's actually... As silly as that sounds, that's actually really... Why is Mecho there in the first place? I was about to say it's really good, but why the fuck is Mecho even there? Oh, Mecho's hiding behind them to be able to put pressure on Pogpo when they go aggressive. Mecho's expecting his team to go aggressive. Jonak's expecting his team to go aggressive. But Mano and Nene have decided to hide. And I don't really know why. I don't know why New York don't use that opportunity to use the aggressive, to go aggressive with the trance. They just try and sustain instead. But that puts Mecho in a bad spot because they're too far away from him. Right? Think about the scenario where if NYXL had gone aggressive and taken the fight here, Mecho is now in a position where he can fly into them and they're distracted and he can do damage to Pogpo, maybe juggle him out of position or just apply pressure to him behind his shield so that he's forced to, you know, he's going to take damage from one direction. He's probably going to shield this way. He's going to take damage from Mecho from behind. Or if they've pushed up aggressively like this and Atlanta tried to punish Mecho and Atlanta actually turn around like they are doing now and try and fight Mecho, Well, you as the NYXL can now rush into them and kill them while they're attacking Meko, like while their backs are turned. Either way, I think New York should have gone aggressive, and by not going aggressive, they've left Meko out to dry. And so Meko gets discorded, and then manages to wiggle his way up just on the edge, and then nearly nudges it off as well. That would have been sick. Like, Meko's caught out in a bad position, and just manages to get up on the lip. And then if he'd been able to get a couple more pushes off there and land it down, and at least put Popo in a really shitty position where Mano's able to find a kill, or they're able to apply some pressure or something, or maybe they even find a pick on like Massa or Ursta, that would have been a nuts play. But instead, he just kind of loses his bomb for nothing, and it looks a bit dumb. Ooh, nice shatter. It looks a bit dumb, but I don't think it was a misplay from Meko. I think it was that New York should have been playing more aggressively, and that's the reason that Meko is in that position, because he's waiting for the aggression to come out. Also, very nice shatter from Mano. And that's just predicting that, just to go back to this is just predicting that Pogba won't have his shield up when the rally comes in. Like the trance comes in. Oh, sorry, it wasn't rally, it was trance. When the trance comes in, he knows that the rest of the team is going to go aggressive, so Mano just hits a fatty chatty. Which is nice play. Anyway. So, next fight. FRD was only able to get 50% in that fight, which is kind of weird, honestly. The fight was super scrappy. I would have expected FRD to be able to be up to another EMP by now, because that fight took so long, you know. They had the EMP, and then they just sustained it, and then there was another fight afterwards. Maybe 50% is alright, actually. Yeah, I suppose that's unfair. He wouldn't have been able to build an EMP in that time, but 50% still feels like not that much. Okay, New York double support ultimate to counter this Grav, and Mano also has Shatter. So if Atlanta try and get value out of the Grav, they got to watch out for Shatter, and they got to watch out for their support ultimates. So they use Barrier. Now, what was I watching before where teams were using Barrier for the Grav? What was it? And there was like a reason that I decided was why they were barriering the Grav instead of trancing it. What the fuck? What game was I watching? And I was like, oh yeah, actually that makes sense. Can anyone remember? Huh. No, maybe not. I've lost an epiphany. I've lost an epiphany. What was it for? Oh, it was something about EMP. It was on King's Row, wasn't it? What was the point? It was that you're more spread out, so you get more value from the... Nope. What was it? You trance... Fuck, I can't remember. I had an epiphany the last time I did a VOD review, and I've now lost it. Okay, never mind. Well, my brain's a fucking sieve. I forgot. I'm sure I remembered, I'm sure I realized in my last VOD review why some teams are sound barriering Gravs more, but I've forgotten what the reasoning was. Anyway, they use double support ult to be able to sustain the Grav and find the rest of the picks. Oh, boop. I forgot the critical information. I did. I'm catching chat's Papega brain. Yep. Yeah. I need to dig around in the wrinkles there somewhere. No Diva Bomb? I mean, no Diva Bomb means that trance is fine as well, though. I mean, the Diva Bomb doesn't really affect... no Diva Bomb doesn't mean that trance is bad or Samba is good. I mean, I don't really see how the logic follows there. Beat the Grav so you can trance the EMP? Yeah, maybe that's what I was thinking of before. Yeah, I think... So, yeah, was that... I can't remember whether I saw this situation with Goats v Goats or whether it was Goats v Sombra Goats. Must be Goats v Sombra Goats, right? That must have been what I was trying to think of. That it's it's only important the order of it when you're playing against Sombra. Anyway, I don't fucking know. That's nice as well. New York getting good value out of their, out of just their grav in that fight. Dogman uses his trance, but it doesn't really matter. I think Dogman was even caught on the other side of the wall, right? Nene playing really aggressive. Yeah, Dogman just caught on the other side of the wall as well. Those situations are so tough for for the poor Zen, because I mean, what are you supposed to do? Do you just give up? Do you just give up and not use your trance? Maybe. I don't know. Why would they beat first when they don't have Sombra? I don't really know. I don't really know why New York did it that time.
The Atlanta Reign, these are, you know, what we like to call eco pushes, because you're trying to, you know, build ultimates, you know, trying to...
Maybe because beat lasts if you're... So say you're in a grav. You're in a grav here, and you trance. There's like this area around where you're safe. So if you get charged out of the area, you're not safe. You will die. But if you have beat on you, maybe it's better against Rhines that like to charge in gravs. I don't really know. I don't know. I still think it's probably better to use your trance, because beat's more useful for other stuff. But what do I know? I don't think it's a mistake. I just don't really understand why teams do it. Or I say teams. I don't understand why New York did it there. But I don't think it's a mistake. I think it's just probably something that they came up with that I haven't figured out yet. Okay, so New York won that just with rally. I actually wasn't paying attention to what happened there. Was that the fight that they just won with? No, I don't. What the fuck happened there? All right, let's actually watch the game instead of thinking about beats and trances. All right, so Atlanta again go up top. they rally into them, go super aggressive, and just fucking melt them. That's nice. Atlanta weren't expecting that. They didn't have grav available to be able to use it to peel. So, next fight. Ults are going to be more even. Dogman will probably get to his grav at roughly the same time as Nene. I think Nene will still be able to build up to his grav before the fight really gets going. So what's the plan? Are they going to try and force top right again? Try and force top right with beat? Or grav bomb? Beat then grav bomb? I don't know what the plan is. Okay, so they're trying to swing out wide, and they're just going to drop to point. Oh, Jonak picks Dogman. Very nice. What happened here as well? I'm trying to figure out what happens based on the UI. I think they go for a... They must have gone for a bash. They must have... I think they maybe were trying to set up a bash shatter with Mano and Libero, but they bashed Popo, and Erster tried to block it and bash Libero, but then nobody used any ults anyway, and then Mano was... I don't fucking know. Anyway. Somebody charged something. I don't know. Anyway. Not really that important. The first one must have been a charge. Popo must have charged Libero, and they both fell to the floor. And then the second time... Mano got bashed by Erster. That's the only way you can have that many stars in the UI, I guess, with these comps. Okay, so they're gonna go super aggro. Very nice. Very nice prediction from FRD. They know that Nene's gonna want to grab them on the corner. What the fuck? So this is super nice. They know that Mano's been that Nene has been grabbing the corners. So, oh my god, come on. So where does FRD go? Does he swing out wide? Oh, I can't tell. I think FRD was here and swung up here and matrixed Nene at the same time as these guys ran up this staircase and came out through there. which is a really nice little set play from Atlanta Reign. They know that Nene's gonna go for the grab. Oh, it's part of the highlight reel? Okay. Maybe I'm wrong then. But that I think is what they went for. Oh, FRD tried it last time, but Libero shield bashed him. That's pretty fucking sick. Okay, what else? Okay, so Shatter comes in. Animo beats it. They just get released from the grav in time. But wait, what happens to Mano? Oh, Mano gets booped? Or does he get bashed? Oh, he gets bashed and booped. He gets bashed and then booped into the bomb. Fair enough. So they've used double support ult, but they've just been kind of rolled. I mean, it's just a huge play by FRD, honestly. And it puts New York in a position where they weren't expecting it, so... Okay, it's just stall attempts now to try and get into overtime. They managed to get into overtime? Probably should do. Okay, so super winnable here still for New York. They really should. I think New York should win this map. New York have actually played really well. I think New York have played... I mean, I can't point to anything that New York particularly did badly on Hanamura defense. It's just the way the game works. Someone makes a big play, or someone runs a counter composition on point A, and you lose. But I think that was good. Just got here. What's the diagnosis so far? I'll sum up at the end of this map, because the two maps have played pretty differently. Meko out of position. What, for the final fight? Not that I particularly noticed.
Let's see now what Atlanta Reign are going to bring to the table in terms of this defense. We know what
I watched the game live, but it was my day off and I was doing other things. So I watched it without the sound on, and I was just kind of like, I was building the audio for my podcast stuff. So I actually have a functional podcast station now as well. So I'll try and get some players over, get some coaches over, do some interviews and stuff like that. And yeah, so I was building the audio for that while I had it on my main screen. So I watched the game, but I didn't watch the game, if you know what I mean. Like, I couldn't tell you exactly what happened on every map. I just saw some general themes while I was watching casually. I hang out with the chillest dudes. Chill, chill, chill. Okay. Triple tank, triple support. Boop from Massa. They try and go aggressive. Suckering Popo in a little bit, but he doesn't go through the choke point, so he survives. They're looping their way up top. The more you rotate, the more chance there is of something going wrong. Now, Atlanta don't really have to adapt that much to the positioning. Do a little bit of damage to Massa, but he gets armor pack. So now, New York are on the low ground, and the fight begins for real. They try and isolate Popo, see if they can do anything. Yeah, Popo gets mashed. Animo dies as well, though. Armor pack's out. Are Atlanta going to be able to build any ults to be able to turn this? I don't think so. Ooh, Jonak misses on Massa. And they've managed to pressure out Meko as well. But they should be able to turn this because Atlanta gave up so much positioning trying to kill Meko. Okay, Rally comes out. Rally to reply. Oh my god. Libero gets fucking melted. Oh, Libero went too aggro. But Trans comes out. This should still be a win, I think, for New York. Having said that, Popo is back. It's a pretty messy fight. But I mean... Oops. Get behind. They are really focusing down Animo a lot as well. Okay, they don't end up taking it. Baby Bay dying though is a big deal for the next fight. Okay, so super weird engagement there. Pretty clutch by Atlanta to be able to turn it towards the end, and it came down a lot to who had ults available. Like they had the Rally managed to find a pretty crucial pick onto Libero, and FRD had his bomb that was pretty crucial on being able to find and isolate Animo. But New York are coming back in with their own ults now and should be in a pretty decent position. Like this Grav should still get... I think they should still be able to find a pick in this grab, even though there's double support ults from Atlanta. New York are generally pretty good at being able to do that. Trying to find out where FRD is. Ursta's on Tracer as well, so it's not the greatest, comp in the world. Leroy does get bashed. Mano's taking a shit ton of damage. Nene isn't playing aggressively enough in that, and the bomb was not synced up. Ooh, pulse bomb. But okay, they are forcing Atlanta right now. The Brig is just so useful for healing, and the Tracer can't really get anything done. He was just running Tracer to be able to get back to the point in time. But surely this is going the way of New York. Yeah, it is. I think the reason that fight looked weird is that it looks like a normal GOATS fight, but there's a lot less healing for Atlanta Reign. So even though the grav bomb was kind of fucked up, just the neutral is so much more difficult to take if you don't have the Brig. And not even because of the shield bash or the extra damage or anything, it's mostly the healing. But it's not something that you really, I don't know, it's not something obvious. It just, they just heal less over time, so they slowly die. So Atlanta just slowly crumbled because they didn't have the extra healer, I think. Okay, playing very aggressively up top, trying to force their way through. Grabs out, barrier at the same time, and shatter, so they use a shit ton of ults there just to block New York. So New York just forced their way in with a rally, and force a shit ton of ults out of Atlanta. So, New York should be in a decent position to be able to take this next fight. Or at least make progress next fight. Oh, poor Meko. Just getting fucking bullied. Poor Meko. Why does he run back up there? Oh, because he was getting body blocked, right? Oh. Oh, big unlucky. Oh, poor Meko. Poor Meko. He whiffs the pulse? Well, I mean, it's a fucking pulse bomb. It's not going to do that much. Unless you stick it on one of the squishies. But he was going for Mano anyway, so probably not going to be the game changer. Alright, so they bait as if they're going to take it slowly. Then they come in up top. Use their resources to be able to get in. Defensive self-destruct. Go for a charge. Oh my god, Mano charge is so deep. Alright, they're still going to be able to get value out of it, I think. Mano, for some reason, was able to get all the way back up top, but now he's getting juggled all over the fucking place. Okay, the heals are good. The grav? Oh my god. I thought that grav was a whiff, but it wasn't a whiff. They managed to get Massa with it. Rally. They need to be able to sustain this grav, but I don't think there's enough damage to really be able to do it. What the fuck was Jonak doing out there? Get in the grav, Jonak. The grav is a safe place. The grav is a safe place. Go to your shield. I don't know whether Jonak was actually too far away. Like, maybe he would have just got bashed if he was going back over to that. I mean, maybe that's unfair criticism. But it seemed like when they all got grabbed, he was like here, and he swung out even wider to try and get behind Ursta, who was here. So, I mean, maybe it seemed like that was where he was positioned. Maybe it was more like he was positioned here, and Ursta was here. And, like, if he tries to go back, Ursta's just going to bash him and kill him anyway. But, I don't know. That looked pretty weird. But because we don't have a good angle of it, I don't think we can't really tell where he was when the grav comes in. Can't really see. I mean, he definitely moves away from the grav, but whatever. Ursta's got bash, probably going to kill him. It just looks weird when it pans out to that free cam and Jonak's in the middle of fucking nowhere. So, could they have played this better as well? I mean, Jonak goes down, but then Meko's also up top, getting pressured, and uses bomb, which is kind of weird. I don't know why Meko uses bomb there. And he just gets rinsed by Dogman as well, who's up top. So, unfortunate. Dogman and FRD doing a decent job of just taking control of the high ground while New York is stuck in a grav. This is the recent series, Saigon. Is Jonak still the best Zen in the league? The best Zen. I'm not really sure. I think Violet's worked out his kinks and should definitely be in the conversation. I think Jonak still's certainly in the conversation. Twilight's pretty decent, but I think he really makes the case for best flex support based on his Zen and his Ana, and his Ana I think is better than his Zen, so... Very nice counter shadow from Mano. That's really nice. He gets, like, booped out the way, and knows that the shadow's gonna come in. Like, he goes a bit aggressive here, but Massa gets the boop, he sees the boop shatter, and just shatters, what is that, like 5 of them? 4 of them? Only 3 of them, actually, but okay. Forces out the barrier, but now Mano needs help, and he's just getting juggled all over the place. Poor Mano. I'm not really sure why he charges Popo. I don't really get that. Why does he I mean, he deliberately picks Popo, but so Mano in his head clearly thinks that that's the right target, but why does he think that's the right target? Does he think the rest of his team will be able to kill Erster, so he wants to maximize his damage output by charging Popo? It just seems to me like charging this direction, when you know that the rest of your team is shattered and this fight is going to be quite a long one, is like getting yourself into this corner is probably not the best idea. I mean, it seems like Erster is the most likely victim. But maybe he's just assuming that Erster will already die to the rest of his team, so he's just trying to find another target to kill. And yeah, Massa does a lot of work in this fight. Sets up the boop for the initial shatter, then he barriers everybody and saves them, and then he also gets another boop on Mano to be able to find that pick and actually completely turn the fight in their favor. So really big to Massa. Why is Jonak playing so split from his team the entire time? What, like in this fight as well? Well, I mean, he was shattered at that point. I wouldn't say that Jonak has been playing split from his team particularly. I can't think of any examples other than the one where he wasn't caught in the grab, and even that I think is perhaps a bit unfair to criticize him for, because there was a rallying brig in between him and safety. Oh yeah, Massa won that fight for them. Okay, 1 minute 35. So Atlanta have actually clutched 2 of these. No, I think there's been like, I think another thing to note just generally about New York that I forgot to mention at the beginning is that because they like to take slower engagements that are, you know, they're not a fast, decisive team. They don't force the fight immediately. It means that they have less team fights overall, and it means that they play the clock worse than other aggressive teams do. It's a good style if it has consistent success, but if it fails, you've used a lot of time off the clock to not that much success. So I think New York have only had like, what, 3 pushes or something on this point? I'm not going to go back through, but maybe 4. 2 of them were super winnable. One of them got clutched. The other one was you know, just good stabilization play from Atlanta Reign. FRD underneath at the moment. Grav goes in. It gets thingied. What do you call it? Tranced. Bomb combo. But they got a counter bomb and the not counter bomb, counter grav, and the sound barrier to try and get picks with. They got Erster down at the bottom as well. Okay, so this should be a good fight for them. 55 seconds left. They should have this. Doesn't really matter how much time they have left on the clock anymore. The shadow misses everything. Nice shadow from Mano. The bubble's there for him. Popo is isolated, killed. Okay, so that's pretty good. So it's like it's a double grab situation again. But I'm kind of surprised that more people didn't die in this bomb, honestly. It only catches Libero, which is a bit unfortunate actually for Atlanta Reign because they set it up quite nicely. It's just the follow-up is good. And I think Popo doesn't quite realize here that So they're trying to set up this classic like grav bomb combo, right? So like you grab everybody there, then you send the bomb in, and you either send it over the top or you send it like sliding along the floor. I'm just drawing it like this so that it's easier to see. And then your Rhine comes in and pins the enemy Rhine out of the way. But normally there's some kind of fucking wall behind. But here you're pinning him into a pit. So you're kind of pinning him into danger. Pogpo's throwing himself into danger. So if Pogpo had come around this side, if Pogpo had been able to come around this side, and the bomb had come over the top, and Pogpo had pinned Mano against the wall over here, or if you miss Mano, you pin, I don't know, Libero or something and find the pick. But if he's able to pin there, Pogpo is still in a position where he can follow up on the grav. You know, you want your pins to be as short as possible so that you stay within your team. Unless the idea is to only, like when you're doing grav bomb combos, if the idea is to only find one target in the pin, then you want to get behind them and pin into the rest of your team. But Pogpo just kind of flies through into no man's land. So if the grav bomb combo doesn't work, which it doesn't because they've got, you know, Nene saved his bubbles very wisely, Jornak's immortal because he's transcending, and then Mano's still got his shield. They kill Pogpo because he's pinned into no man's land and then grab everybody else. So that's pretty well executed from New York. Anyway, we know that this was a win for them in that fight. This is a cool little setup. A cool camera shot. I haven't seen them use that too much. Unfortunately, it's not really used at a good time because the casters are talking about the match and the time on the clock and what's at stake, and we're seeing Dogman versus Jornak. So really, I think this setup should either be reacting to, like, this would be a fucking sick camera shot for when Jornak gets a first pick on Dogman, or Dogman kills Jornak in the middle of a fight and it's super important, and then you see both of the player reactions to it, just for like a couple of seconds, and then you go back into the game, or as a reaction to when the casters are talking about Dogman versus Jornak. But here it's just, I mean, it's kind of cool, but it's unrelated to what's going on. It's good to know that that functionality is available, though. Alright. So Atlanta, 40 seconds on the clock. Going to run triple tank, triple support. Baby Bay takes a lot of damage, but gets peeled for nicely. Mano gets bashed as well. Okay, so neutral. Both teams perfectly fine. Doing a lot of damage. Baby Bay's taking eyes away from Pogpo quite nicely. But now he's a little isolated. But they've taken so much damage that they have to start backing off. Meko's demagged. Mano's going to get overrun as well. This is a fight win for Atlanta. The weird thing here is that when they push aggressive, they got Dogman all the way out here. They've got Pogpo and Erster here, and then Baby Bay and Massa here. They've really split into, and then obviously they've got FRD up here as well, but that's kind of beside the point. So, what's the play for New York? You could try and send somebody aggressive onto Dogman. You could send Animo and Meko, or some combination of those two, to try and pressure Dogman and force the rest of them to come in and peel for him, and then you can broadside them. You can't really attack Baby Bay and Massa, because if you go past these guys, they're going to come in to the side of you. But you should be able to output a bunch of damage onto Baby Bay because he doesn't have the shield available for him. But their focus fire is a little strange. You know, some people are shooting the shield to try and make Pogpo and Erster back off. Some people are shooting Baby Bay. Discord's on Baby Bay, but then everyone's shooting Massa. And they've given a lot of space, so they've still given this high ground over. Massa and FRD are working pretty well together to put pressure on Meko, whereas Anamo's trying to help his tanks. Or tanks, help his Rhine. So they basically just win a neutral engagement straight off the choke. And also, I think maybe the fight was already kind of lost as soon as you give Atlanta that much space. Mano was around here, but as they hooked around, Mano backed off, and they didn't really manage to put any pressure on Popo, and so they just gave them the space a bit for free. Hello. What split the hive mind that is NYXL? I don't really know. I don't know. Maybe they're just losing focus halfway through the season. Oh yeah, I saw this play. This play was fat. It's pretty risky. But there's no reason to expect that he'd be there. I don't think I've ever seen anyone do that before. So it's only risky if you expect the other team to expect it. Big play when it's needed. The definition of clutch. If trademark NYXL sandbagging? I don't think so, unfortunately. No reason for them to sandbag at this point. But it is kind of the middle of the season. It's easy to lose focus at this point, especially when you've been playing so much GOATS comp. But they have less games this year. They didn't have any problem maintaining focus, generally speaking, last year. So I don't think that's really an excuse. I don't even think that's probably true. But something to keep in mind, I suppose. They definitely don't look as tight and coordinated as they were last year. Or even in Stage 1. Having said that, we just didn't... The level of GOATS play has evolved from Stage 1. Not necessarily from the very end of Stage 1, but from mid-Stage 1 when NYXL looked really fucking good and they were 4-0ing the shock. They don't look as good as they were then, but also the game has improved. Like, the teams have gotten better since then. So, ooh, okay. A lot of damage on a Popo. They've, that was a bit of a set play. And nicely executed. Ooh, and Baby Bay. Wow, really nice right click on Baby Bay. Well, Atlanta didn't react fast enough to that, but it was fairly unexpected. Very ballsy play to run when you only have a minute left on the clock. Popo just gets slammed, but I mean, what should they have done here? Let's take a second just to have a look. Usher and Master are bopped off. Both Rhines get bubbled, but the rest of their team is just way too far forwards. The armor pack is a little too early from Ursta, I suppose, if we're going to be critical. The armor pack would have been really useful, like now, instead of when his health was full. Baby Bay tries to peel for him by going in front of him. FRD is pretty far away and isn't quite able to get there in time. But they do, I mean, they do trade for mana and stuff, so I think it's just New York are able to get so much more done and react so much quicker because it was their plan. Which is kind of the reason, or one of the reasons, why aggressive GOATS play, it tends to be better. Because you're able to react faster. Or you're not even reacting, right? You're just executing your plan, so everyone's on the same page. And when it's teamwork based, it's so important for everyone to be on the same page and know how to improvise super fast. Whereas if you're always reacting to what the other team are doing, there's a natural time gap between the time it takes you to figure out what your opponent is doing and the time it takes you to be able to call what you should do. Action is faster than reaction. There you go. You said it much more concisely than I did. So FRD positioned underneath again, looking for a boop. But now they've backed off, and now FRD's in a bad position. Well, not necessarily in a bad position, but more exploitable. Ah, yes, this was the Giga feed. I remember watching this live. The Omega feed. I don't know why FRD does this. When they drop down... What? Why are you going for a boop now when nobody can follow up on it? I mean, there's absolutely nothing that FRD can do here. Maybe he's just trying to pressure Jonak because he's got Discord Orb on him and thinks he can force out the Transcendence, but that's fucking optimistic. I would have preferred for him to try and knock Nene off the high ground, if anything. Mozrise, thank you for the Twitch Prime. I think he must have been trying to get on Jonak. Like, they are lobbing in right clicks, and they've put a Discord Orb on him. And I think FRD must be trying to get onto him. But Libero is there and still has Bash available, and they just put Discord on him and blow him up. And FRD's fed, essentially. I think that was a pretty optimistic solo play. And then they just get off the point and it's whatever. FRD was expecting a bubble. That's a good point, actually. It is weird the Baby Bear doesn't bubble the whole time. Yeah. I mean, I still think it was optimistic even with the bubble, but... Was it part of the halftime, what they went over? Okay. Is this the Gravy, the next one that comes out? Did he get fucking whip shot out of that? Did FRD get whip shot at the beginning of it? No, he got bashed and still ate the grav. He got bashed by Libero and still ate the fucking grav. How the hell? Wow. That's unfortunate for New York. They did everything right. Well, I mean, not literally everything. Nene could have graved now while he was stunned, but they basically did everything right. Their plan was right. Fucking hell. What a play. What a fucking play. Actually, I mean, is that a play? I suppose it is. It's more lucky than anything, though, I think. That was clearly FRD's plan the whole time. And then he just gets bashed at the perfect moment for it to look super clutch. But it's not like... It's not incredibly smart, and it's not like some crazy reaction times or anything to just... I mean, that was his whole game plan coming into it, was just to Matrix Nene. I think it's more of like a coincidental thing than anything. It looks fucking sick, though. And it's heads-up play by FRD to still go for the defense Matrix, even though he's been bashed, you know, but... It's just a little unlucky for New York that they don't time it properly. Hey, Strimmer, will we see Vancouver versus NYXL? I don't know. What has to happen? I think Spark has to beat London for Vancouver versus New York. And I don't think that'll happen, but it might happen. I'd say there's like a... I'd say there's like a 35 to 40% chance that Spark win that game. London looks pretty strong. Spark are improving. London could choke for sure, but I think it's 60-65% that London takes that. And NYXL has to be Gladiators as well. Yeah, that's true. And playing like this, it's... To be fair, Hanamura wasn't bad from them, though. Hanamura, they looked fine. They just play... They play a little slow. They give too much space to Atlanta, and Atlanta just take the space. And...
It's kind of cool to see two players that are... FRD coming back in for Hanamura did look quite good. Obviously, at the ending,
what else? What was I talking about on map 1? I can't really remember. Anyway. What are Bren's flip-flops? He loves them. His sliders. He loves his sliders. Spark hasn't lost to a team that wasn't Shock or Titans in 2 months. Is that more to do with the their schedule though? As in, like, it being spread out? I mean, how many games is that they've actually won and who have they won against? The game against Seoul was fairly impressive, but it was, I think it was Seoul losing that game as well as Spark winning it. Okay, anyway, let's focus on this match. I'm actually going to get myself a drink of water, and then I'll come back. And we'll do the rest of this match. Oh! Yeah, Spark played Charge of Paris about 5. Whoa! Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't consider Spark a great team, but I think they've probably... They look like they've made pretty big improvements over the course of Stage 2. And it's within the realms of possibility that they beat London. Do you think Monkey Tracer Synergy translates to Rein Zarya? No. I think Monkey Tracer Synergy translates to Monkey Sombra Synergy when you play that Zarya-less triple support comp. Spark did beat Boston. Boston are a super weird team. Boston, if they have a good read on the other team and are focused, can sometimes play really well, very coordinated. Sometimes Boston make horrible, horrible errors. At the game against Justice, I wanted to claw my eyes out. Because Justice just did nothing in the first half, and it was a tragedy to watch. And then Boston threw in the second half. Just really bad triple tank, triple support gameplay. And Janus actually did hit some nice shatters as well that made a big difference in the series. But I was watching that like, end me. Alright, let me grab some water. Fucking hell. What were you eating? Oh, you'd ordered it. Oh, fuck. That's nasty. Oh, man. Johnny just came up to me and was like, oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. And he had a fly on the end of his finger, like a dead fly. And he said, I just found this in my food. And then started spitting out all the food that he had in his mouth into the sink. I was like, what did you cook? How did you manage to cook a fly into your drink? And he was like, no, it was tender greens. I ordered it. Well, Johnny gonna die. It's only a fucking fly. It's just extra protein, isn't it? He's on keto anyway. It's fine. It's fine. Pretty Dan's game though. Yep, agree. It was a spider? Was it? I thought it was a fly. Oh, that's even worse. That's even worse. Even more protein. More legs. More legs, more protein. That's what they say. That's what they say. How'd you get a spider and a fly mixed up? It was a little fucking thing, then it was crushed. It was a little black smudge on his finger. With legs. And what I perceived were wings, but I guess more legs. Fly is much worse than spider. You eat spiders in your sleep anyway? No, that's not true. That is not true. That was some bullshit that people made up online and it spread. I think that was even some bullshit that people made up to see if people would believe bullshit. It's literal fake news before fake news existed. Why would a spider crawl into a carnivore's mouth while it sleeps? What kind of fucking suicidal spiders have you got in your house? Okay. It's cozy in there. Alright. It's warm. Alright, wait there. Okay. So, let's take a look at this. So, how did New York approach this fight? So, Discord Orb on Mano. They've got Mecha up on the high ground. Docker's contesting him. Go aggressive. Bubble's broken. Oster went for a bash. Wasn't really able to get anything. Mano's trying to recharge his shield. They've taken a little bit of space, but now Atlanta have taken the space straight back, and New York have just given it to them. Baby Bay takes so much damage, and Popo's weak as well. How did Popo and Baby Bay take a shit ton of damage? So Daco takes a ton of damage. Popo's got Discord Orb on him. Baby Bay steps forward to try and peel for Popo and Daco. And as soon as Baby Bay starts to back off, Libero bashes Popo and Baby Bay. So there's like, they're trying to cycle aggression between their Rhine, their Zarya, and their Diva. But there was so much damage on Daco at the beginning that Daco left. Baby Bay stepped up to the front, but he didn't step up with anybody else. And so he was just alone in the middle of the point. And Popo still had to hide. So then they do a shit ton of damage to Baby Bay as soon as his bubble comes off. And then they bash as well. But you have to move forward as a team if you want to rotate aggression like this. You can't just do it one at a time. Like, it doesn't really work. It's not even something you can do if you're playing this slowly, I think. But that's pretty nice from New York. They know they focus the right people at the right time perfectly, honestly.
No stagger, no delay on this point. Well, you know, you have Bono in this position where he's doing the majority of the damage, and what Atlanta Reign have been doing super well is
Any Papegas in chat? Someone, the Papega emote that I have is pretty good, but it looks too. I mean, the Avast Papega is so good. It's so unbelievably good. I think I need to redesign my Papega emote. It just looks like a white version of the frog, which is a little odd. I like the morphed face a bit more. Your Papega emote is terrible. It's pretty bad. Well, it's not bad, but it's not as good, and it looks a bit weird. DeFranz is best. Avast looks terrifying a little bit. Your Papega is Papega. Brenz is not good. Brenz is fucked. Brenz is so fucked. Okay, Bren's Papega is more Papega. Yeah, it is. Okay, so again, Animo dies first in this fight. Animo's first death rate in this series must be higher than in any other series, I think. I can't tell exactly what happened, but I'm pretty sure he got discorded, and then Baby Bay is shooting at him, and he takes a bit of damage, and then Massa comes in and finishes him off. And something that I've never realized before, but is totally true, and I guess this is a game plan from Atlanta as well, is that generally speaking, you know how I was explaining the plan that New York have, where they trade bubbles early, and then they pull Mano backwards, and they're trying to bait you into going aggressive on them and overextending, and then they'll fuck you up. Like, that's their general game plan, is the Rhine does a little bit of swinging, and then goes backwards, and they're trying to pull you in and then collapse onto you. But when that normally happens, something I've never noticed before, but now that I think about it is certainly true, is that Animo normally stays in a more forward position to try and boop people as well. Like, when the rest of the team backs off and to collapse, Animo normally stays like somewhere forwards to be able to find boops or be able to get out. And Atlanta are really punishing that, because Animo isn't backing off at the same rate as the rest of his team. But I think that's part of New York's strat. I think Atlanta are reading it pretty nicely. Maybe it wasn't that... Maybe there wasn't that kind of pre-planned intent in it. Maybe it's just something they noticed on the fly, that Animo is far forward in these situations. But I think it's something that's probably fairly exploitable in the way that New York play. Well, even if a lot of Lucios do that, not many teams play like New York, where they deliberately bait you in. Most teams are more aggressive than New York. So the fact that New York is so passive means that there's a lot of distance separated between Animo and the rest of their team. Nice attempt at a charge. Good from Erster there to bash the charge, make sure that Popo didn't die. Beats traded. Baby Bay's maybe been isolated. Okay. It was Popo. They'd already done too much damage to him. I suppose Baby Bay went down as well. That was pretty nicely played by New York. A lot of ults used there, though. And Atlanta did pretty well. Yeah, New York are playing... They're playing all right, but they are giving... It's like... They're playing very slow, and they aren't putting pressure on Atlanta. They're not forcing mistakes out. They're just waiting for mistakes to happen, and Atlanta are just taking all of the space that New York give them by trying to play that slow. And then also, Atlanta are doing a good job of being able to focus on killing Animo. What else did I say from the first map as well? The first map was the worst one so far from New York, in terms of it being more obvious that Atlanta were punishing them. Nice pick on Darko, on Dogman. So now Popo has been kind of suckered in a little bit. Both teams have Grav. Nice boop at the end there from Animo. Oh my god, what the fuck is that shit? So this is another issue as well, is that when you play as slow as New York, one big clutch thing has ruined all of the slow, steady preparation that you've done. So this is really nice in terms of... Actually, I don't know why they use trans there, but okay. Just generally, the shatter... The shatter, the fact that they get the kill on the other Zen, so the trance is kind of free to use because the other team doesn't have trance either. Both teams are stuck in the Grav. Mecho's there. Animo boops them in. Jonak and Mano do a shit ton of damage to Popo. Rally is used. Yes, players are weak, but they're the fight is definitely going their way. As long as they kite the sound barrier, but there's no one really to do damage with the sound barrier. The fight was definitely going their way. But then this bomb comes in from behind, and I don't think they know where it is or where it's coming from. And suddenly the fight's completely over for New York, because Doko's just clutched with a really nicely placed barrier. Does Massa actually boop Mano back here so that he can't back off and save the rest of his team? It just looks like Mano doesn't really know where it's coming from. No, I mean... Maybe Massa body blocks, but he doesn't even have boop available at this point. So he already used boop to kind of make sure that they weren't in a position to back off. But it looks like Mano's a little puzzled as to where the bomb is. Yeah, Massa booped them. I suppose this boop here is pretty useful for setting up the bomb. But at this point, if New York had known where the bomb was going, if New York had known that the bomb's trajectory is back here, so that you're not safe if you're in here, and you're not safe if you're on this area as well, if they had recognized that quickly, they could have pushed forwards. There's not enough players here for the sound barrier to really make that much difference. There's only Massa, Ursa, and Baby Boy. And even though Mano doesn't have that, even though Nene doesn't have that much health, you could still play aggressive here, I think, to avoid the bomb. But they back off and they all die. So it just kind of looked like they didn't really understand where the bomb was going, and there was a call to back off if rather than go aggressive. Probably because of the sound barrier. Like, you don't want to run into a sound barrier most of the time, but I think that was the only real play to make there.
It's a 5v6 fight, but if I sound barrier here, I think there's a way we could turn it. Let's take a look at this once again with Daco. Grabs in, sound barrier comes out from Mano, barely gets in time. You can see using it here first, and look at where Mano is right now. He's not in position to turn his shield around, and Massa's blocking him, so he can't really get into position the way he wanted to, and he was definitely looking to right there. It didn't matter.
Nice from Massa on this map. Massa's had a big impact on this map. Okay, Dogman uses trance, and I'm not really sure why. The beat's out. They're trying to isolate Popo. They've killed Massa as well. They're not quite able to isolate Popo. Why aren't they able to isolate Popo? He's here. He takes bubble. He takes armor pack. Where the fuck is he? So he's on the floor at the moment. He's on the floor, and he's just got, like, everyone and their nan is running at Popo. Where does he go? How did Popo disappear? Where is he? He falls off, and he must have hooked back underneath. Come on, play. There he is. Where does he go? Where does he go? I can't see. I can't see. Does he go underneath? He goes into this room that's underneath. I don't really know why Mano wasn't chasing him. I guess he was worried there'd be too much pressure. But if Baby Bay just shoots Mano, then Baby Bay's gonna die. And Mano's healthy enough to be able to kill Popo if you just run at him. So I don't know really how Popo is able to escape there, and then Baby Bay is able to get healed up as well. That's a pretty weird engagement. He used his translocator. Ah, yes, of course. How do you think Big Goose compares to Massa? I think Big Goose is generally better than Massa. But sometimes Massa just has huge maps where he's just in the right place at the right time all the time. But I think Big Goose is super consistent. I think he's got a great understanding of when he can go aggressive and when he's defensive. He's generally pretty aggressive, but he has the mechanics to be able to escape most of the time. Yeah, I like Big Goose. I would take Big Goose over Massa, but Massa's pretty good.
Focusing down during the grab if they're going to utilize this right now.
No lower energy here for Baby Bay, trying to build some of that up. There you go. Pushes past 70.
Okay, a lot of high ground here for Atlanta. A lot of ultimates as well. Baby Bay a bit weak. Took some headshots from Jonak. 90% on Nene. Both teams going to have big ults. Grav bomb available from Atlanta, but counter grab from Nene if it comes through. Shatter catches Meko, so they use the opportunity to grab. They should be counter-grabbing here, though. Why aren't they counter-grabbing? Hello?
Did you put the oven on?
Yes. I'm trying to burn the house down, Johnny. Would you just let me? I love skipping. I think skipping is a better method of movement than walking, for sure. I'd take skipping over... If skipping was socially acceptable, I'd be skipping everywhere. It's just a better method of transportation using your legs. It's just better. It puts a spring in your step. Puts a spring in your step. Why did you leave the oven on? Because I didn't leave the oven on. I put the oven on to preheat. Because I'm going to eat some corn chicken nuggets because they're fucking awesome. Hey, Matt, Mr. X Morello. Oh, nice. Matt's tuning in. Maybe he'll be able to learn something and then he'll be able to say it. Okay, what were we talking about in this? Oh yeah, why the fuck doesn't Nene grav? That's what I'm wondering. Okay, so here, Nene has grav. I think Nene should be grabbing here as soon as this bomb comes out. Like, as soon as he gets grav, as soon as the bomb comes out, counter grav, because otherwise you're gonna fucking die. You're in the middle of a grav bomb. There's 29 seconds left. Why are you not graving? There's no defense matrix. Nobody's been hit by the shatter. You need to grav, otherwise you are going to die to this bomb. And instead, Nene dies. Was he bashed? Did I miss something? No. I don't understand. Why does Nene not grav? There's 30 seconds left. Does he not have bubble and knows that he's going to die? Is the bomb placed like fucking expertly on top of his head? I don't know. He was behind the cart, no line of sight. Oh, really? Where was he? I thought he was in the grav. Am I going crazy? Oh, he was stuck behind the cart. Oh, that's unlucky. Okay, right. Well, that solved it. Look at his poor little body. Oh, poor little Nene. Stuck behind the cart. He can't do anything. Oh, that's so unlucky, actually. That's so unlucky. What do you grab there, though? Oh, I'm giving him a hard time, and the poor guy's like fucking caught underneath the wheels of the car. He's like Woody from Toy Story holding onto the back of the moving truck. Just Kobe it up in the air. Yeah, just shoot it directly upwards. It'll land quick enough. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. That's just unlucky, man. That's just unlucky. But that again, that's the issue. If weird shit happens to fuck up your fight, New York takes so few fights and they take them so slowly that Avast calls it the probability machine. The probability machine, the longer you take to make actions, the higher your chances of something going wrong are. Because there's just more time, there's more interactions, there's more abilities being used, there's more opportunity for shit to go wrong. So when teams are rotating, making big rotations, when teams are like taking neutral fights for a long time, when teams are playing passive and just talking about just taking space and stuff, all of that is just running it through the probability machine. Just running it through the probability machine. So I think that's an issue with just how New York plays in general. Shock and Titans don't allow the probability machine to even fucking exist. They just, they're in your face. You play their game or you get the fuck out. Whereas New York are victims of their own slow play style at times, because weird shit like that can happen and then your entire thing is fucked up. Your entire push. Can we do a stage review of Titans BM? Someone would have to compile it. Titans have been fantastic with the BM. Avast is a better analyst than you. The guy is a genius, what can I say? He's a god among men. Unfortunately, though, he thinks Runaway are the best contenders team and therefore must die. Actually, he was talking to me about that. He was like, I did a VOD review of them as well. I'm coming around to your point of view. British Hurricane are really good. And then, almost literally the next day, they lost to Angry Titans. And I'm like, well, okay then. That was after Runaway had lost to Element Mystic as well. I was like, okay, well, the Giants have fallen, Avast. The Giants have fallen. Anyway, what the fuck am I doing? Why am I'm not paying any attention. Okay, so New York on defense running Rhine Goats. Atlanta Reign look like they're going to try and run a pokey composition. So most teams don't try and run this. The Hanzo and the Pharah are going to poke from long distance. They're going to apply a lot of pressure to Mano's shield. You know, Mano's shield is going to run out. They're going to have to take cover. They're going to have to use Mecho's defense matrix. They're going to have to use Nene's bubbles. It's going to force out a lot of resources just to avoid the poke coming out from Baby Bay and Ursta. And then you have the Sombra there that's going to build the EMP as well. And this is the kind of point where there isn't really a safe place on the point from this kind of stuff. Actually, I suppose, how does the Hanzo, if you... Oh, come on, get your fucking hands out of the way. If you, as the defensive team, hold with your Goats comp here, and utilize Mecho to put a lot of pressure on the Pharah Mercy, where does Baby Bay go? Does Baby Bay flank around this side and just apply a shit ton of pressure at you from there? Probably, right? I was just wondering, like, can you actually play Goats from here? Because Ursta wouldn't really be able to take this aggressive a position against your Goats comp if it was playing on the point. And you also then get to block the point. So, I mean, there's two advantages. But I think it would just be too easy for Baby Bay to come around here and thwomp straight into your shield. And then what the fuck do you do? So... They would always play default Goats on defense. Well, I suppose, but there's a lot of teams that play default Goats on defense as well. Yeah, then watch Cheobin deal with Ding. I know, Cheobin fucking manhandled Ding. So Mano's now on the point. But because the rest of the team isn't playing aggressive, there's nothing that can contest Ursta. Because Mecho can't just fucking YOLO into his face when the rest of the team's not with him. So they've given away 2 ticks for free. And they're super split up, and they don't really look like they have a target to focus. And Libero dies. They don't really have a game plan here. NYXL. They don't really have a game plan. You can't ping pong onto point effectively against this comp because there's too much poke. I think you have to try and take a more aggressive position to start with, and then when people flank to try and get angles, you have to go aggressive on somebody. I mean, if Dogman tries to get an angle, then you can go on him. If you can get a bash on Popo as he comes to contest the cart, you can go on him. If Ursta and Masa come too aggressive like they are now, but if you were positioned on the point as NYXL, then Mecho can try and deal with them. And then Baby Bay as well, I don't know. If Baby Bay took this angle, it would be quite difficult to deal with him. But I suppose you could try and speed boost onto Baby Bay. Like, if Baby Bay is playing this aggressive out underneath Snaxaramus, and then you're holding on the point, when you feel like your resources are getting low, but you still have speed boost available, you could speed into him and try and kill him. And then you'd maybe give up like a tick, but you'd take one of the big points of poke out of the comp. At the moment, New York are just kind of doing nothing. And then eventually you're going to lose to the poke that comes out. But I don't really know what the best way of defending against this is, because I haven't seen very much of it. This isn't a popular comp on Blizzard World. And it changes so much based on the map. Like, whether or not the point itself has cover makes a huge difference against a comp like this. Chow, 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 chow. Storm arrows. Okay. Wouldn't Baby Bay just delay by fleeing onto the high ground? Yeah, Baby Bay would just run away. But you have to do something as the Goats team. You have to at least try to find picks and rotate around. But then you have to rotate around, you have to block the point, you have to do all this kind of stuff. I mean, what's the one advantage that New York have? They can take space. They can just push Atlanta Reign out of positions as the Goats team. So, and Atlanta have to keep playing angles, keep poking, and they have to keep playing the point. So... Big EMP. Nice pick on Jonak. I didn't know Docker could really play Sombra. Oh, that would have been an air shot, and Dogman stole the kill. Okay, so nice EMP. But this is the kind of point in the map where Goats is probably going to be better. As long as they can get on the approach, they can play underneath and try and find targets like Dogman to go onto. Dragon Strike doesn't really do much from there. Ooh, minefield right on top of Libero. Libero just wanders into two of the mines. Don't know why they're not playing from inside that room. Weird from New York. I think New York didn't really know how to counter this composition. I think they didn't have a game plan coming into it. It's fairly unexpected, I think. It's not every day you see this comp on Blizzard World. But that's a really nicely executed game plan from Atlanta Reign. It's a composition you don't see that often. You sometimes see it on stuff like Hanamura. But Hanamura is different because you are the ones attacking and you have all of the space and it's just a fucking broad open map. And you have like many sight lines to be able to go on, but the point itself has cover. So Blizzard World is almost the exact opposite of Hanamura in that sense, where the map is fairly small, but the point has no cover. So where does the defense play from? They have to rotate around. They have to take space away from the attackers. But that's easier said than done for sure. And then here on the approach, like this is the place that you want to play from, and you want to be cycling resources to make sure that you don't get poked down. And then you want to keep contesting the cart, and then when they actually come to the cart, then you want to rush out and try and kill them, and then you can hopefully reset the fight after you've been able to... Like, if you go on Baby Bay or Dogman, or maybe even Popo if you can find a bash on him, and then you send Meko into the sky to stop the Fire Mercy, just plowing rockets into you while you're taking that fight, and Meko ties up the two of these guys, and then they don't have very many heals on the floor, so if you're able to run over one of these people, they die really quickly. But they just weren't able to get in position the whole time because they tried to play around here, they tried to rotate up top, they looked like they didn't really have a plan of what they wanted to do. They were playing into ults as well, which is a little difficult, and by the time they actually got into this position, which I think is probably the best to play from, they were already 2 down and had expended a couple of ults. So it looks like New York didn't really have a plan of how to play against that. Which is unfortunate, actually, because New York were previously one of the teams that was best at being able to adapt on the fly against this kind of stuff. You know, throwing a curveball against New York last year just meant that they would absolutely handle it and throw one back at you. That, well, not throw a curveball back, but throw a fastball back. I don't know. We're outside the realms of baseball analogies. My knowledge of the game is not that impressive. Well, there you go. In other news, I think my corn chicken nuggets, not chicken, corn vegetarian nuggets are ready. So I'll be right back. They'd hit the curveball out of the park. There you go. There you go. That's the one. That's the one. Do you think this is a case of them missing an in-game leader? Sabiobi did communicate a lot with the team, but I never really could tell what he was communicating because I don't speak Korean. They talked about him as being an emotional leader, but it seemed like he was talking in between maps a lot as like a strategic leader as well. So maybe they are missing Sabiobi. I'm not sure. I also don't have very much insight into how the Korean teams comm at all because I don't speak Korean. But yeah, and so I know a lot more about like how Atlanta communicate, for example, than I do about New York. New York are just a bit of a mystery to me. I don't know how much it's changed from last year. I don't know whether Ark was talking a lot, but then Animo was playing with them towards the end of the year, and that was going really well for them. They also looked like they were pretty decent in Stage 1. So I don't really know what's changed or gotten worse, because New York do definitely look worse in these 2 games against Atlanta than they did when they were playing in Stage 1. But then they weren't the cleanest team in Stage 1 either. It's just the style of goats that they play is prone to it's got a higher variability, I think, because they play slower. And also it's very reliant on their opponents making errors. And honestly in goats it's simpler to not make errors, I think, than it is like last year playing dive and stuff like that. There's a lot more movement around the map with individual people, which is prone to go wrong. Maybe it's the lack of Wizard Hyung. Maybe it's the lack of Wizard Hyung. I actually think Wizard Hyung was probably a very good analyst. I just think he did a fucking terrible job scouting for Justice. And has done very little for coaching them moving forwards. And other stuff that I can't talk about. Which is... But yeah. Okay, let me get my veggie nuggets.
This is fucking hot. They're fucking hot. Oh my god, they're so hot. Oh, I'm burning my fucking mouth.
Oh my god. I put hot sauce on them and they came straight out of the oven and my mouth is just on fire. On fire. What the fuck? Why have I got so many texts? Okay. Oh shit! Oh, I've got so many things to do. Okay, I need to... Woo! I need to do so much more of this series so fast. We ain't gonna have time to go through any other games after this. It's gonna be this and then the end of the stream, I'm afraid. Text from Wizard Young. No. Okay. Alright. Okay, so Atlanta are running a similar composition. So Baby Bay is now on the Widow instead of the Hanzo. I think the Hanzo's better against what New York are running, but... Okay, they're gonna swap. Why are they swapping? Because they have the Batiste? I suppose the Batiste is better against the pokey compositions. You've got more healing, and you've also got the immortality field to be able to buy yourself time. It's like an additional resource that Brigitte doesn't have.
Oh fuck me. That's still really hot. I'm breathing fire.
Fuck. Wow. Okay. Alright. That's so hot. Alright. Whoa. Let's wind this one back. Alright, so they've used their Batiste ult. They didn't get too much out of it, but they're just using it to buy time. Both teams have... Oh my god, Libero gets caught. Yeah, well... That was pretty nice from Atlanta, pretty decisive, but also New York should have recognized that and backed off. Why didn't they? Oh, Libero just feeds, basically. Libero's super aggressive. Libero's up here. He jumps. He lands on the same place when he knows that they're right here, looking to peek onto him. He doesn't have armor pack because he is the brig player and they don't have a brig. And they just get overwhelmed. But when you have Batiste and the other team doesn't, when you have Batiste and the other team has brig, they're going to try and play aggressive into you, and you need to get value out of the immortality field, and you absolutely need to not be playing with your squishy players far forward as that. So I don't know. Just armor your pack yourself on Batiste, of course. Okay. That's nice play from New York. And it's set up by the shatter that comes out from Mano. It's a really nice shatter at the beginning, which means there can be no follow-up on the grab that comes out from Baby Bay. And then they use their support ultimates pretty nicely, New York. Atlanta have managed to get up to almost another grab, though, because the fight took so long. And the opener was Baby Bay's grab. He does die with his energy, so it'll take him a little while to be able to get more, but there's a huge difference here between Baby Bay and Nene, which is mostly not because Baby Bay was doing more damage, I think, but because he used his ult so much earlier in the fight.
He's gonna have another grab, even though it was staggered. There's not gonna be support ults this time, so they should be able to clean this up.
So this should be a one fight for the Atlanta Reign based on this grab. It comes down to whether Mano can hit another fatty shatty, basically. If they can bash Shatter or something like that onto Popo, it'll be huge. So I think they went for it there, but the bubble from Baby Bay was timed really nicely. Did Massa actually get hit by the Shatter? Yeah, Massa got hit by the Shatter. Okay, so then Mano finds the kill there. Mano doesn't jump into the grab, but they are able to do enough damage to everybody else. That's nice. That's nice. So Mano's Shatter's pretty fat.
He felt that in that moment it was his only chance because they were gonna have such little time and they might have gotten staggered, but now they don't have any tools to really break this open with. Maso got picked.
Backcapping is possible in Overwatch League. We see it happen way too often. Teams should be more aware of it than they are, not less aware. Also, I think the teams, generally speaking, kind of ignore the crowd or assume it's something else. They don't instantly think backcap when they hear the crowd. Okay, rally. They use their trance early on. Grav is there. Nice shatter, actually. But another decent one to reply. Good bash from Erster. Really nice bash from Erster. And that's fucked the whole thing up. Right, so a couple of weird things about this fight. New York have the advantage here. They've done a ton of poke to Popo, and they also have Grav, they have double support ult, and they have bomb. But just as importantly, they have the clock. They know that Atlanta Reign have to touch the point. So they know that people are going to have to push in to touch the point at some time. So there's no need to go aggressive into them and pop and trade transcendences. You should be using the fact that Atlanta have to push to just apply pressure to them. And like just hold your ground and apply a bunch of damage with Nene and Jonak and then have Mano position there and you're just holding the line rather than going aggro yourself. But then, okay, trances get traded. Massa uses sound barrier to try and help people in the grav, and they also land a shatter, which admittedly only catches Meko. I thought it had caught more people at the time. Mano gets behind, goes for a shatter himself, which again looked like it was going to catch more people, but only caught Popo. He goes for a charge, but Nene doesn't have bubble, and so he gets bashed out of it. And then also during the middle of this, I don't know why Nene stops doing damage in the grav. I don't understand why Nene gives up on the grav and goes to fight Darko. There's no way that Jonak's dying here. And the most important thing is to help Mano with these players. But instead, Nene is trying to get the D-Mech on Darko. And even though they get the kill on Darko, now the two major sources of damage are hiding from a Diva Bomb, while Libero is out in no man's land, and these two are over here. So the fight is super spread out. And now their positioning is just terrible. Because they didn't play tight. They didn't wait for Atlanta to go aggressive on them. Which is strange. The timing of aggression is really weird from New York. But yeah, Erster is very good. Erster and Dako are very good.
He didn't have the transcendence when the grab came through from Baby Bay. And we talk about Jonak's trans timings a lot in this series, but sometimes they have just been a little bit off. They have been a little bit incorrect. It was a risk he took, but like the enemy's ends are getting better.
And that, wait there. And that was kind of a textbook example of when Dako puts pressure on Jonak, the front line of New York curls back to help Jonak. This time it wasn't Mano, this time it was Nene. But these two have to occupy the front line. They have to be doing damage offensively. They can't turn their backs to go and help Jonak. That's really Meko and Animo's job, generally speaking. Or you can just leave Jonak and try and frag out offensively yourself if Doko's going to leap into your backlines. At least when you're split like that. Dako's finding really good timings to go aggressive. But I think New York are dealing with him quite poorly by over-investing resources to deal with Dako instead of just focusing on offense themselves.
Over on that side, drop down from behind. NYXL rerouting, trying to get the supplies flank in. They start pushing.
And the fact that Meko was far forward in that fight is weird in itself, because you would normally have Nene far forward and Meko further back. But New York, for whatever reason, like to play with Nene, generally speaking, as a very passive Zarya. So thank you for the sub, Eturi TV. Thank you for the Twitch Prime sub, 2 months. Appreciate it. Thank you a lot. So they've already lost Mano in the fight, and then they. Very strange ult usage here. They've already lost Meko. Atlanta used Rally to try and clean up the last few people, but realized that New York is still in. So they grab them. It gets transcended. They get a pin on Nene. Nene is pretty weak, but still gets healed back up. Shatter doesn't really find anything, and they go for a counter grab. Like, they're still trying to clutch this, New York. They got a kill on Baby Bay and D-Mech on Doko, but... Wait, how the fuck did Mano get back in there? Where did Mano suddenly come from? Oh, yeah. So, Mano's then separated from the rest of his team, coming back this way, while the rest they're all kind of around there. So, it's a bit weird, honestly. And now New York are miles behind them as well. It's a very strange rotation that's happened here. It's like New York are on the offense, but then they're spawning behind them and made no attempt to meet back up with Mano, and didn't disengage far enough to avoid getting ulted by Atlanta Rain. Just very strange from New York.
It wasn't going to happen, but he thought maybe if I touch this card and prevent the checkpoint, then maybe we can win the next fight. It doesn't end up happening that way, and the Atlanta Rain now pushing forward here. Behind in grab charge, and that's a big one here.
Bomb coming out, Dako looking for the hits. Mono off on the side, had to play around the corner to keep himself safe.
Here, behind in grab charge, and that's a big one here.
Bomb coming out, Dako.
Where is Animo?
It doesn't end up happening that way, and the Atlanta Rain now pushing forward here. Behind in grab charge.
Animo's up here.
That's a big one here.
Bomb coming out, Dako.
It doesn't end up happening that way, and the Atlanta Rain now pushing forward here. Behind in grab charge, and that's a big one here.
I do find this weird, that New York's style, generally speaking, is to try and back off when these kind of aggressive plays come in. But instead, Animo's up here, and there's no way for them to be able to avoid the speed boost bomb engage that goes down on the point.
Behind in Atlanta Rain now pushing forward here. Behind in grab.
It's a little odd how spread they are.
Bomb coming out, Dako looking for the
And also it's good timing just as Mano comes forward.
play around the corner to keep himself safe.
You know, when you're walking backwards as a main tank, sometimes you feel like you can keep going, but he was actually just caught. He clipped into the wall, so he got stuck there.
If you download a long VOD, it's hard to skip a few seconds. There's a small space on the progress bar. When I download VODs, I run them then in VLC, and I just use the arrow keys. Like, each arrow key is 10 seconds, and if you use shift and an arrow key, it's 3 seconds. And I think control is like a minute and something else is. So, VLC and arrow keys is the way to go.
You know, this could be New York's hold, though, with the 6 ultimates they have right now. Atlanta Rain missing the bomb, missing the grab. Those are 2 tools you really need to lock down a point like this. And Baby Bay will build the grab in the fight.
So what's New York's approach now that they have 6 ults?
Nene's going to be in a bad spot.
Okay, Boob Shadow comes out from Massa, I think.
By that time, Dog's
Right?
probably going to have to use his trance. Nene's going to be in
Yeah.
a bad spot.
Boob Shatter catches Meko.
Going to be catching Meko on the side. He was safe. Already one ult going to be gone. Erster with a rally rolling. See a second one used for the Atlanta Reign. Grab comes in, Baby builds it up, catches
Rallies traded. New York make no effort to take space. Atlanta just get in the best position possible, with Baby Bay up on the high ground, Daco up on the other high ground. But then the grab from Baby Bay, they drop into it and try and capitalize on it too much and just end up dying. But it's weird because New York are not making any efforts to... What was so good about New York last year is that they would slowly squeeze you into bad positions. They would keep moving around the map to improve their position, improve their position, improve their position. Set up Jonak in the best places possible. But now that it's Deathball and you all have to stay together, New York don't try and find the best positions possible. They just wait. They just wait. Together. But they don't really have that slow choking style, oppressive style anymore. Baby Bay lasers down mana from top, but they've done enough damage to the people on the floor. They've used their ults pretty well. Okay. A good hold from NYXL on point C. I mean, honestly, a decent hold from New York on point A as well. They just beefed that final fight. If New York had played properly, I think they would have full held. Because they made a couple glaring errors in their final fight. And then beefed point C. What does that May wall avoid? I don't know. Trying to isolate somebody straight off the bat. Bit strange. I don't really know what the purpose of the May wall is as it opens. Why are Atlanta playing so far up? Just because they want to see if they have an opportunity to fight aggressive. Maybe New York are running some kind of Bastion comp. See if they can get 3 fights on Junkertown instead of 2. But New York slowly came out of the spawn and applied pressure in the right ways to be able to get out without actually taking a fight. And now they've done a lot of damage to Popo as well. Whip shot back as well. Buys him a bit more space. Doing a lot of damage to them here. Mano's getting bullied a bit. Sound barrier, Transcendence, nice shatter as well from Mano. Bombs up in the air. Nene doesn't have his self bubble, but he does have projected. Mano's weak. They found a solo grab on Baby Bay. Nene's been destroyed though. It was a nice shatter from Popo to try and peel, but in the end, New York had the advantage in that fight right from the beginning, really. And then as the ults get traded, they kind of traded 1 for 1. Maywall to block the pin. I suppose. Yeeted grab from who? Both of the grabs seemed okay to me. Alright, so they're underneath. What moves are New York going to make? Going to try and take the high ground away from them? Try and rotate around? Baby Bay's grab was so much earlier in the fight, so he's got an advantage in terms of that. Okay, and now they're just dropping a point, so they've kind of traded side. Oh no, they're going to fight Popo. So they try and isolate Popo, but don't quite manage to. Baby Bay steps forward, so they see if they can do any damage to him there. Nice shatter coming out from Mano, but a good block. Nice attempt by Erster to peel. Baby Bay's grab ain't gonna do shit there. That was a waste of a grab for sure. But honestly, Baby Bay's grabs have not been that bad so far this series. I heard a lot of shit about how bad Baby Bay's grabs were this series, but that really is the first one that was terrible. Have I forgotten some previous ones that were awful? I don't think so. Maybe it happens later in the series. Maybe it's in the next map as well. Oh, he does it again on this map? Okay, fair enough. Alright, they play aggressive in the choke. I really like this. I think this is a good play. A lot of pressure on Popo. Wait, where the fuck did Mano go? Did Mano get sucked in? Oh my god, I can't see a fucking thing. Oh, he got shattered. But where is he when he gets shattered? Where the hell is Mano? I don't know where Mano was there. Chat, where the fuck did Mano go? I can't track him. Where the fuck is he? Oh, there he is. He's in there. How the hell did he get shoved into there? He must have been shattered and booped or something. Did he try and charge? I don't... well, the problem with trying to analyze these kind of plays is it's fucking impossible to see what happens. Takes a bubble. Goes aggressive. Swings his hammer. Maybe booped. He looks like he's kind of in the doorway now. Yeah, he is. Did he go for a charge? I think he just got booped by Doko, maybe. But the hallway's so small. How do you get booped into a corridor that small? That's so weird. Maybe he got booped by Massa. I don't know, man. I don't know. Fuck knows is my thorough analysis of that play. Animo as the Lucio going super deep into that grab. Well, I mean, it was a very optimistic grab from Nene, I think, but it forces out the trance. Is it worth it? No, I don't think so. As soon as Mano dies there, the fight is basically lost. And I don't know how Mano died, so I don't know whether it was like a mistake or a clutch play from Atlanta or what, but I like the idea of holding close. They got a lot of value out of it. They nearly won the fight. If Mano hadn't somehow ended up in the hallway, I think they win that fight. The question is how the fuck he ended up in the hallway, but whatever. Doesn't make that much difference, I suppose. Babyface gonna have grab. Jonah needs to save his trans for it. Got a shatter that he can clutch with. Atlanta got a lot of pieces to be able to win with here. But now that they're on the offense, New York are actually doing a pretty decent job of being able to put players in the best positions possible. And Meko's up on the high ground. Animo's in a position where he can actually impact the fight. Jonix on the high ground where he has got good sight lines on people. Nene's getting much more aggressive on the high ground as well. If he was going to hold back there, I was going to complain about it because you're better off on the floor if you're better off forwards and on the floor than passive on the high ground, but this is a good position for Nene to be in. Oh my god, that's a bit of a fucking play. Cool though. It was well synced up with the rest of the team. Oh, Baby Bay grabs at the end of that fight. That was horrible. Right, fair enough then. Fair enough. Fair enough. That ain't a good grab. But something that happens a lot in Overwatch analysis, I want to say particularly by fans, but I think some analysts do it as well, is taking something that happened in one map and expanding it to the series. Because people love to have a storyline that goes throughout the series, but a lot of maps are different from each other just because of how they play and like people's variance in some maps compared to other maps as well. Like I wouldn't say Baby Bay's grabs have been bad all series. He just fucking had some terrible ones on Junkertown and 2 terrible ones on Junkertown. Baby Bay's actually been playing pretty well for the rest of this series. He's been doing his best to be able to pull pressure away from Popo. He's a little too aggressive when he does it sometimes. Bubble timings generally have been better than I was expecting from Baby Bay, because previously his bubbles have been super poo. Dogman's late on that trance. It's not a good idea anyway to... Well, I mean, what the fuck can you do at that point? Trances to keep your main tank alive are normally fucked because the other team's just going to grab you straight afterwards. But it's better to get the grav out and have your main tank survive than save the grav and the trans. So like, if you're going to lose a team fight, you might as well force a grav out of the enemy team with your trans. But in that situation, you trans and it's too late anyway, and then you've just wasted trans. Okay, New York are just kind of rolling them at the moment. Actually, that was a really nice bomb placement by Doko. Could have got something. Libero knocked to the floor. Popo isolated. Is definitely going to die. Sound barrier. Okay, so they rolled them on this map. Atlanta make more mistakes. But New York also apply a lot more pressure. On their offense on this map, they applied so much more pressure than they have done all of the rest of the series. I think New York are at their best when they play escort, generally speaking. I don't know whether that is backed up by stats, but from last year and from this year, their escort play is some of their best. Wow, good thoughts. Wow, Sideshow. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Matt. And I think the reason that they're much better at escort is because the game state changes in not just with the ults, but also with the location of fights, and you can apply a lot more pressure to a team that has to keep moving backwards down the course of an entire map. Whereas if their backs are up against the wall and there's nowhere else to go, it's harder to keep applying pressure the whole time. Like on Control, when you're in charge of the point, how do you keep applying pressure? They just come out of spawn. The maps aren't designed for that to be the dominant style of play. Okay. So on Oasis, we noticed that they were playing a little too passively. A lot too passively, actually. And there was something else as well. There was another key takeaway from Oasis, but I can't fucking remember. I'll have to rewatch the VOD myself. Alright, let's take a look at what happens here then. So Mano's a little bit in the backlines. Meko's taken a lot of damage. And New York have given up a ton of space. So rather than going aggressive and trying to make something happen and giving space to Nene and Jonak, who are probably your two most clutch players in the whole team, instead of trying to make space for them, they're kind of pulling back towards them, which gives them way less space to be able to work with. A lot of the opening fights as well are started by pressure on Meko, and I think that's Doko and Massa doing a really good job of that. Meko tends to play on his own and tends to try and contest high ground on his own, which isn't a problem, but Doko goes and stops him having that high ground, and then Massa sometimes comes and helps as well. And then you've got Doko who's more healed, and also Meko who's taking more damage from both Massa and Doko. And so Meko's tending to lose these fights. Also, I wouldn't say that Animo's had a great match so far. I think he's been a weak link, if anything. I think he needed to modify his playstyle halfway through this, start helping his diva a bit more. Start keeping track of where Massa is and trying to shut him down.
So this situation in the choke is so good for Popo because he gets more damage done in AoE than he primals in the same way. And Mono's not going to get value on the line until he gets onto the point, until he can force Atlanta Reign to fight on his terms. That was a really good engagement by the Atlanta Reign, identifying where New York were, identifying the Mono swap. And now the grab is out.
Oh, I think the other major takeaway from Oasis actually was just talking about Animo and how they were focusing him first. But we did touch on that in Blizzard World as well. Didn't happen too much on Junkertown. Bomb catches Baby Bay. Okay, I should have been paying attention to this fight. Okay, so this is kind of a huge fight. If Atlanta win this and New York expend ults, they're going to be in a great position. They grab him early, save it with a sound barrier. Grav available for New York. So Grav bomb they use. They managed to find picks in it, but at the same time their front line has been demolished. And the Primal's doing a lot of work from Popo. I think playing decisively in White Room is super good if you have a Winston Goats team. Because the Winston does more damage, and then the primals are super effective to be able to actually do damage because it's a tight room with a tight corridor. So you get cleave damage on everybody, and then you also get primal damage on a bunch of different targets. Doko in. A lot of weak players though on his team. Meko's been booped. Trans very early on. The Shatter has to find something. Finds Pokepo, and they can't actually save him, but counter Trans is going to be very difficult. They don't really have the damage to be able to capitalize on that. That grab was wasted. That grab was a total waste. Yeah, it seems like Baby Bay doesn't... maybe the pressure was getting to Baby Bay at this point in the series. Because he played pretty well on over the first 3 maps. He was pretty good. To be fair, on Hanamura and on... on Hanamura and on Blizzard World, he was playing a lot of Hanzo. But his Zarya was also pretty decent. But certainly his last, well, not his last 3, but there's been 3 big grabs over the course of Junkertown and now Lijiang where they have been total wastes. Okay, double support and grab from New York. Do they go aggressive with the grab? They should. Okay, what happens there? They take too much damage at the beginning because they've waited. So they try and use the grav to pull attention away from Mano. But Mano is discorded and is taking damage from Doko behind his shield as well. Nene hasn't saved his bubble for Mano as well, so he can't really play that aggressive. And Nene himself is, again, not playing aggressive in the grav. He's playing from a distance. So, not well executed. Not a great bomb placement either. This is the fight that you have to win, so just throwing everything in. But as soon as Mano dies, honestly, the fight is pretty much won. Unless Meko can find a way of hitting some crazy 3k self-destruct, but this point isn't very good for that as well. But yeah, I think that fight was essentially lost as soon as Mano had taken a ton of damage and they'd given too much free space to Doko, so Doko's able to get it on a side angle behind his shield. Does a ton of damage to him while the Discord Orb is on, and then Nene's bubbles have already been used in the fight. So, and yeah, I mean, they could have used a support ult to keep him alive, right? Did they have support ults? They had only just got them. So here is like the frame, 33%. So this is the second that they get them. Mano's dead within 1 second. So even if they'd popped a support ult, it's super likely that both Animo and Jonak would have wasted their support ultimate here. The reaction times you'd need to be able to do that are pretty unreasonable to criticize Animo or Jonak for not saving him there. But Mano himself should have known that he couldn't go that aggressive because the bubbles weren't available. And he had Discord Orb on him. And then if they'd just taken their time, then they could have gone aggressive with a support ult or with bubble, which I think was only about 2 seconds away. Okay, let's take a look. Hot take, Mayhem won't make playoffs. Wow, just some lava hot takes from my chat. Holy shit, how could you doubt Bring the Mayhem? Okay. So again, Mano kind of prods forward, then backs off, hoping that Pokepo will chase him. But Atlanta don't really chase, they just take space. And I think that's one of the big reasons why Atlanta are having a lot of success against New York, is that when Mano backs off, you should just take the free space. You shouldn't go aggressive. If you go aggressive, New York will try and punish you. They'll try and collapse onto you. If you take the free space, eventually you're just going to push NYXL out into a fucking corner. Go on, charge him, pin him. You know you want to. A lot of damage coming into Atlanta as they come out through this choke point. It's nice positioning from Meko. And Mano's juggling around the corner pretty nicely. Stunned, goes down. Mano's got more players with him. So, Popo dies, of course. So far, New York playing well on this point. But now we get into the ults. Atlanta are going to go top. Normally normally you would try and really fuck Popo as he does this, as you hold forward. But for some reason, New York don't want to hold forward here. They know that Grav is up and Trance, but you could still take the Grav fight closer. Alright, they take it on the point instead. They Grav. They get the kill. Why did Baby Bay not counter Grav? Why did Dogman not use Trance? Well, Dogman's really far away, is the answer to the second question. And Meko, I think, is just holding Defense Matrix over Baby Bay. So there's the answer to both of those questions. New York commit the Grav, but they get a fight win out of it. And you can keep rotating ultimates like that, so that's not a bad roll. Hot take: I have no clue what juggling means. In Overwatch, juggling can be a couple of things, actually. People talk about juggling the Rhine, which just means like booping him around the place. But normally when people talk about juggling, they mean they also, the other term for it is like ping pong, where one player does something and then they back off and another player does something and then they back off and another player does something. And it's like the juggling balls, right? Like as one falls, the other one goes up, and so that you've always got something happening, but there's like three components. So you can juggle aggression, so you can cycle players in and out of the front line to try and make sure that they not just one target takes damage, it's a bunch of targets take damage and they all share the load. Or you can juggle onto a point, so you can go onto the point, then off the point, then the next player goes on the point and then off the point, which the Koreans call ping pong, but I tend to call it juggling, I think, most of the time. But there you go. Sharing loads and ball juggling. You guys are fucking terrible. Okay, so Atlanta have to grab this time. Defensive self-destruct though from Meko. Okay, so they go aggressive with the self-destruct. That's pretty unlike New York. That's weird as well, because all that does is force Atlanta to into playing aggressive, which is what they were going to do anyway. So a bit of a waste of the self-destruct from Meko. Mano pins into the backline as well. What the hell is going on in this fight? Okay, for starters, I don't know why New York decide this is the time to go aggressive. When you know that Atlanta is right here and they have the tools themselves to go aggressive, it seems like a weird time to do it. You have the tools to be able to sustain this Grav. The Grav is going to come out. They don't have the bomb for it, but even if you thought a Grav bomb was going to happen, you have double support ult and your own bomb, which you can just throw your own bomb directly up in the air, and then when it lands, it stops the rest of Atlanta capitalizing on the Grav bomb combo that they've thrown out, and they can't disrupt Mano, and Mano just shields. So by utilizing double support ult, sometimes not even requiring double support ult, but by trancing and using self-destruct, you can normally stop a Grav bomb combo, or you make it much more difficult anyway. And then instead they yeet their bomb in, pop rally and trance to endure the fucking, what's it called? Grav. Baby Bay grabs them. Dogman uses trance because he knows it's fine too, because Nene doesn't have his Grav up. So it's just like, it's a free ability to go aggressive on it. Popo goes for a charge, but gets... Actually, I'm not sure what happens there. I think both Briggs bash both Rhines. Is that what happened? Oh, I think he gets... I think he gets booped and then must be bashed or something. I actually don't know what happened there. What the fuck does happen there? What happens with Popo and Mano? He pins Mano. And then gets booped into the wall. Oh, that's what happens. So like the pin finishes. That's fucking weird. That's super weird. So he goes for a pin there, but gets booped backwards, and so they both hit the wall. I was like, what the fuck? How has this occurred? I was like, what stopped this charge? But it stops because it hits the wall. Weird. Anyway. Okay, so everyone's fully healed from the NYXL. They still have a shatter to be able to deal with. Boop shatter comes through, but it doesn't catch anybody on New York. Mano replies with his own shatter, and it knocks Erster to the floor. Both teams trade sound barrier, so huge amount of ults being invested. And Mano goes for this YOLO pin. What's he going for? I think Mano was trying to pin Erster, who was on the floor, but Animo booped them away. Or maybe he's going for a YOLO pin on Baby Bay, but that's fucking weird if he's going for a YOLO pin on Baby Bay. That doesn't make much sense. I don't know. I don't really know what Mano's doing at all. What the fuck? He's coming in like a bullet train. Maybe he just wants to isolate Baby Bay. But he's so far away and they're so spread out. They have managed to kill Pokepo, but the positioning is a lot better here for Atlanta at the end of it. But it's a super scrappy fight. All the ults are taken out of the equation, basically. And New York are at 98%. So now when they come back in, they've got their own Grav, which they didn't have available in the fight, and they should just win. They should just win based on this Grav. And it's very hard to see how Atlanta could turn this. I think Atlanta have to play very aggressive and try and hope that they catch somebody before the Grav comes out. Or they could eat it, obviously. Always something to keep in mind. They've chosen not to play aggressive. So eating it, I guess, is the play. Yeah, going for a bit of a fake, and then he grabs them. But Dogman has trance by that time, because they've taken so long to deal with it. So Jonak has his own trance that they can play aggressively with, but they're choosing not to play aggressive for whatever reason. Shadow comes out, Grav of their own. They're taking so long to take this fight, New York. Oh, wow. They take so long to take this fight that they lose the ult advantage that they had at the beginning. I mean, just totally lose it. Now Atlanta are the ones with more ults in the fight, because they've just taken so long and given so much damage away. So Baby Bay, this is quite a nice little play. Baby Bay grabs. They find players in it. They dump the self-destruct behind, and Popo behind as well. And when they come out of the Grav, Popo swings into them and makes sure with his Earth Shatter that Mano can only block one or the other. Actually, Mano does manage to block both, but there's a bunch of players behind him as well. But they did a nice job of sandwiching Mano between the self-destruct and the Earth Shatter so that he can't like block the rest of his team, and he can't back off behind the bomb either. What is typewriters? That's pretty good. Where did that originate? Baby Bay says, my comms were play super fucking slow, give all space, and farm trance. There you go. There you go. Your dumb fucking head. Yeah, it is your dumb head. Yeah, well, I mean, you farm trance super well. And that's the thing. Playing against New York, you know that they're not going to play aggressive. So you've just got all the time in the world to set up your own plays. So they apply so little pressure. It seems like there's never any urgency from Atlanta. They have all the time they need to be able to set things up. And I think Atlanta have a very good read on New York. As in, they're not... Atlanta aren't some wonder team that are playing a style that perfectly counters New York. I think they just figured out some basics. Like, New York are not going to apply that much pressure. They're going to run default goats all the time. You have time to be able to make your own plays and back it up. And when they back it up, you can just take the space that they give you. And I guess my point here is that there's nothing special Atlanta's doing that any other team couldn't do. But a lot of teams don't play a slow style like Atlanta do that allows you to take advantage of that. They play super aggressive, which I think plays into New York. But there you go. Atlanta end up winning that. Really should have been New York's stage, but they play pretty smart. I think they have a very good idea of how New York play, and they exploit it. And honestly, I don't think New York played horrifically throughout this series. They just got outbrained a little bit. Atlanta found a way of pretty heavily abusing New York's style. Put a lot of pressure on Animo whenever he's further forward than the rest of his team. Take space when it's given. Don't go over aggressive, because New York love it when you go over aggressive. Make sure that you put pressure on Meko early in the fights as well. So Dako did a great job of being able to do that. What else? And then had some niche compositions with the Hanzo, Farah, Sombra to be able to crack them on Hanamura and Blizzard World. So I think there's a lot that other teams can learn from this game to apply when they play against New York as well. And I think this also yeah. How is it possible that you beat New York 2 times in a row and don't make stage playoffs? And I think the answer to that is that Atlanta don't play very well against aggressive teams. When you don't give them all the time in the world to be able to do stuff, they don't react particularly quickly, and individually their players get outmatched. But when you give them all the time in the world, they can still play a pretty smart game. And playing slower allows Doko and Erster to have more impact as well, I think. What the fuck are you doing? Exclamation mark boner. What is that? What the... You've been gifted a subscription. Type exclamation mark boner to activate. Oh my god. It's ironic idiocy. It's like, you guys know how stupid that is. And none of you really fall for it. But you all just do it anyway. Why? Why do you do it anyway? Why do you enjoy being dumb? Do you think I love dumb people? I do. I do love you all. I do love dumb people. Okay. So yeah, I'm not sure that this means that Atlanta are a good team. As in, they're a smart team and they've got good pieces. But do I think that they would be able to beat like Gladiators? Like, I could see a world in which NYXL still beats Gladiators, but Atlanta would lose to Gladiators. Even though they can beat New York. And I think a lot of that does come down to having a read on another team and having a style that they play and stuff like that. So, but I think to call it a matchup thing maybe doesn't give Atlanta the credit, because it's not just a natural matchup thing. I mean, some of it is a natural matchup thing, but some of it is also just Atlanta or their coaches or their players or whoever the fuck has done this has figured out how to play smartly against New York style. Could the Titans do this against New York? Yeah, probably. Would the Titans do this against New York? I don't think so. I think Titans would still continue to play their style against New York. And I think the Titans style matches up quite badly against New York. Like, as styles go, the Titans just fucking rushing Bumper into them and supporting Bumper with everything they've got is almost perfectly what New York want you to do. Having said that, I think the Titans are way more coordinated and react faster, so I think they would still win that match. But stylistically, I think New York's got like the advantage in the matchup, whereas they have the disadvantage in the matchup against the slower paced teams. But the best teams at the moment are the aggressive teams. But I think Shock's coaching is good enough that they would be able to just abuse New York's passive play. Titans might just keep mashing their head into the wall until it works. But Titans are so good that it probably would work in the end as well. Titans have proven they can play slow too against Shock in the stage finals. Yeah, it wasn't that slow though. The game's tempo was still pretty fast because Shock tried to set a fast tempo. And then even when they were playing offensively, I don't know.
The Titans eclipse, you know, NYXL as the best Overwatch League team.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that would be... I think that it would still be really interesting to see New York go up against a top team that just tries to go aggressive into them. But I think this is... These two series against Atlanta have certainly shown that the style that New York play is not the best style of GOATs. It's a style that teams should be able to use. But it's pretty exploitable when that's the whole way that you play. I guess they're just too one-dimensional, NYXL. They're too predictable. Because if NYXL could also mix it up and play really aggressive, they... Well, that's the thing. They did have team fights and maps where they played much more aggro. But their timing on when to go aggressive was sometimes really weird as well. Like, their timing is normally, let's go aggressive on defense when we have a fucking advantage. It was weird. Dogman got player of the match? I don't know about that. Is that like a narrative thing? I think I probably would have given it to Doko, but maybe Erster. Erster had some big moments as well. Probably Doko, though.